What is going on, everybody? It is episode 210 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here with my co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, Crisis Nation. It's Mary. What is up?
I don't know how I feel about Crisis Nation.
I'll stop. I'm sorry.
I think we need to go back to Crisis Actors.
Okay. Hi, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Just pretend that never happened.
Maybe that's why it's felt so weird the last couple of days. It's like, what is going on?
I've totally ruined the vibe.
Everything's off. It's off. And we have a guest host today, part of the Crisis Nation, if you will. Would you introduce yourself, sir?
What up, Crisis World? Ian Crossland coming at you. Happy to be here.
Live,
Crisis,
perhaps.
Crisis World is pretty.
Crisis World?
That's what he said. He said Crisis World.
Crisis Universe.
Is that going to be the new one?
We could go with that.
Okay.
So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We are going to talk about Gen Z, their very, very strange viewing habits in this very interesting survey that the article itself kind of gets needlessly over the top. The data on its own is kind of strange. It's strange enough that you didn't really need to become over the top with the article, but we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about a brand new wonder drug that Hollywood is using for weight loss, thus proving that it's all surface level for them. And no matter how much things change, they stay the same. And after that, we are going to talk about a new movie called Legacy Peak. But the most important part of this is not the movie. It's the lead actor, Lucas Black, has a lot to say about the concept of how Hollywood treats men and fatherhood. So we are going to get into that. We are going to get into Podluck. But if you guys are ready, we will just get right into it. Are we ready?
We're so ready.
I'm so ready.
I didn't even have to ask him. That's how ready he was today.
He's almost too ready. It's almost a little unsettling.
I was tweeting it out on Twitter.
Oh, thank you.
That's a bit redundant, but I mean,
I was tweeting it out on Twitter. I was Facebooking it on Facebook. All right. So it says, woke Gen Z is out to destroy entertainment.
This article pissed me off. Yes. I'm just going to say it.
The article's needlessly hyperbolic.
It's purposefully incendiary. It is trying to incite some kind of war between the generations. And as much as I criticize baby boomers, I feel like this is a one-sided war that he is waging against Gen Z, and it's not fair.
So it says, a horrifying new study from UCLA queried Gen Z kids ages 13 to 18 to those overly mature children of the corn born between 2004 and 2008. Like I said, needlessly over the top. And it says about their viewing habits, and the downer conclusion pretty much is enjoy anything fun and flighty that's over 90 seconds while you still can, because basically they only like TikTok. Right, and everything else is kind of bad, but that's not the bad part of this article, right? We want to get into the actual information from the study. The guy's take on it is very over the top. The information's weird enough.
So only 4.4% of the teen respondents to this survey said they wanted to see aspirational content, and they defined that as entertainment concerning the rich and the famous.
Which is weird because, like, if you go on Instagram, and I don't know what the generational makeup of Instagram is, very few things do very well easier than, like, travel content and stuff that shows luxury.
Is this not the generation that consumes and produces most of that flex culture?
Yeah. That might be younger millennials, to be honest.
You think?
Yeah, that could be more.
Or the zillennials.
That could
whatever
be people
they're
on
called.
The edge of that spectrum. So it says teens wanted to see stories about people that differ from their own identity, as well as stories that are hopeful and uplifting. That was where I thought was weird, is I was like, how the hell is hopeful and uplifting different than aspirational?
I think it's different because the aspirational content is about material wealth, and hopeful and uplifting, they defined it as entertainment that shows characters who beat the odds and succeed in spite of their circumstances, may not be as favorable as the rich or the famous.
Do you think this is kind of because we've talked before about how you think that one of the core traits of Gen Z is nihilism? That there's a lot of nihilism amongst.
It is.
Do you think that this is kind of a response to them feeling like they need to beat the odds all the time because the world is constantly telling them that the world is awful now?
I mean, I don't think it's just that they've been told the world is awful. It's also being told that the future is in your hands and your hands only, and that we're about to face an apocalyptic level of crisis as like climate change and recession gets worse, and
It's
political unrest and etc. Like I don't think all of those things are as climactic as they are framed to Gen Z, but because Gen Z has been told that the future is in their hands and the future is doomed unless they save it, and they don't have the means to do anything, then of course they're going to end up depressed and nihilistic, and they want entertainment that makes them hopeful or at least helps them escape that expectation.
Which is weird, because to me it seems like nobody wants escapist entertainment anymore. It seems like they want social commentary laced within everything that they make.
That's what was interesting. They said, across all demographics, teens rejected aspirational content. Their top choice was to have fun and escape while watching content, followed by seeing real-life issues that impact society, like systemic injustice, climate change, etc.
That is a generational thing.
Those things are oxymorons.
Yes,
like, you can't have an escapist entertainment product that also draws attention to real societal issues.
I'm going to read some of these quotes from the study. It says, "I want content to be fun and escapist, but also address real-world issues." And then just listed as white male, 17. It says, "Depending on how I feel, sometimes I prefer content with ups and downs of real-life issues or silly things to escape. White non-binary, 17. I want to see stories of different ethnicities who live different lives than what I am used to seeing, such as people with non-mainstream or self-employed careers where they are also living a life of freedom." And then I don't know what MENA is.
It's Middle Eastern. I forget what the acronym exactly means.
Okay.
North Africa? Middle Eastern North Africa?
Yeah, probably.
So female 15. That's interesting to me, because they're saying lives of freedom, which to me is inherently aspirational, because if you're living a life of freedom on your own terms, you're either wealthy, independently wealthy, or you have a very good job. Also, it speaks more to my idea of creating a Dilbert-like comic about the gig economy rather than office culture.
The self-employed
gig economy of a guy and his crazy tales as a Lyft or an Uber driver.
Yes.
Like a guy driving a cab and all the stuff that happens to him.
It's not necessarily aspirational in the sense of like watching a Downton Abbey, which is about generational wealth, or watching Succession, or watching...
So Succession, Bridgerton, all of these shows are what, uniquely millennial and Gen X?
I mean... I'm not sure the statistics of their viewership, but I would guess that. It's also likely that's the case because this study acknowledged that Gen Z, like less than 10%, I think, of Gen Z puts film and TV as their number one form of pastime.
So then one of the interesting things here is it feels like the entertainment industry is constantly marketing and advertising to them with the types of stories that they're telling, and failing while Gen X and millennials are over here like, we liked what you were making before and we are a ready-made audience for you to make stuff for, and they're not catering to them. It's the fallacy of like the phantom audience. Every time one of these companies builds an audience, they start looking for viewers outside of their demographics when they don't necessarily need to. Comics did it when they started trying to build an audience of like, let's get women, let's get all these other groups, when they had the middle-aged white dudes have like disposable income, like to go to comic book shops, kept the comic book industry well employed for many, many years, but they chased the phantom audience with ridiculous stories that nobody cared about, and the economy and the economy of that industry has tanked because of that.
That's the part of the New York Post article that I agreed with, the only part. He said, youth-obsessed Hollywood is so prone to knee-jerk reactions these days that big, damaging changes are likely afoot. Soon, every TV show and film will be mind-numbingly woke and boring and aimed at consumers who won't even watch them. Those consumers being Gen Z. Gen Z is not interested in film or TV as much as previous generations because of social media and video games and the internet being far more interesting to them.
I was like, their attention spans also.
Their attention spans are lower.
Even mine, as I get older,
they're lower on the whole
because of prolonged social media use. Finds me pausing. We're gonna have to review Rings of Power and Podluck today, and because I had to watch it at the last minute, I paused it less than I usually do, and it was somehow harder to get through. because I just wasn't interested.
I think I have a really good attention span, but like boring stuff can be boring. Like sometimes just straight up, I'll be watching a YouTube video gameplay footage, for instance. If it's well edited and the edits are quick, but it's a 40-minute video, I'm in for the whole 40 minutes because it's good edits. But if it's no edits and the guy's talking about his dinner and not the game, I'll be like, I fast forward till he starts talking about the game again because that's why I'm here.
That's an art form too, to be able to edit long form videos to keep people tuned in for long periods of time. That's not easy.
No, it's a new art form.
It's also
relatively.
But long form content is getting favored on YouTube and TikTok.
Yes.
So maybe attention spans aren't the problem. It's the quality of longer entertainment.
Yeah, a lot of people,
right now,
it's easy to throw up a 1-hour video with terrible edits. It's boring, and then people blame their attention span. It's just a bad edit.
There's a funny meme where it's like somebody's like they're looking for recipes to make for dinner, and they click on a video. It's like quick and easy recipe for how to make this, and she says it all started when my mom made this when I was 5 years old.
I'm telling you, that's exactly what I'm talking about. There's so many videos where it's like they found this in Russia, and you click on it, and it's 14-minute video. You're like, where did they find the thing? It's 13 and a half minutes in. They finally tell you what it was they found.
It's like
I got no time for that stuff.
It's
almost like
advertisement ecosystem.
And that's oddly enough, that's how they hide things in news articles. It's called lie by structure, right? So the article has nothing to do with what the headline is, and all of the pertinent information that they don't want you to read about is jammed into the last paragraph, except for these people are screwing it up because they want you to watch it. They just don't know how to make it long enough. It could also be that if it's somebody that they're just trying to reach that, whatever the monetization mark is, 9 minutes or 10 minutes for YouTube. They're like, I gotta fill in a bunch of stuff here and get this figured out. Otherwise, I'm not gonna make any money.
I'm not sure if monetization is the same on TikTok or similar to YouTube, but they do favor longer videos now for that reason. Like watch time is important still on TikTok. So they allowed 3-minute videos and then they expanded to 10-minute videos. I'm sure that they're going to expand further than that even.
So here's Finding 3, which is related to superheroes, which is fairly relevant to this podcast here.
Yeah.
It says teens cast black males as the hero. The majority of teens cast a black male, 23.6% as the hero, and an even larger majority cast the white male as the villain, 34.9%. That is where our culture is. Like, I'm starting to think that it's like Hollywood isn't woke. They're literally just following a bunch of surveys and data.
Teens who identified as white males were the only demographic that cast white males as the hero. Interesting, isn't it?
Well, but do they even point out? They said, like, I'm sure that it's very true that of the other demographics, they would cast their own ethnicity as the hero as well. That's what people do.
It says only 50% of female teens cast a female hero.
That is just the world coming back at you hard. Nobody wants female. Not nobody. It is a fact that biology is a thing, and people want to see men save the day because it speaks to both the male fantasy of wanting to be a savior and the old tradition of that women have the fantasy of wanting to be saved.
Also, like military commanders, when they're fighting on the front lines with their troops with swords and shields, you want a strong human, and that tends to be men.
And it's why so much of the entertainment you see now, you don't know why it doesn't ring true, but it doesn't, and that's when. Okay, we were watching Lord of the Rings earlier, and I won't get into too much of it, but basically there's a scene where the character of Bronwyn's giving this what's supposed to be a rousing speech, a call to action, and you just don't.
She's not raising her voice even.
There's nothing commanding about her presence, and that's
Stand with me and fight.
That's not to say that there aren't actresses that could do that, but on the whole, as a person, you understand that it would normally be a male in that role that would fill that rousing call to action.
Like deep down, the actress knows that she'd get the crap beat out of her by any of the large males she's surrounded by.
Well, that's how
and
it
you
is
can tell, like, she doesn't have the confidence.
That's how it is for all of them. They said even the Morfydd Clark talked about how she had to like work to not flinch when she would film action scenes because a bunch of like enormous dudes are coming at you with a sword,
and your brain is like run.
Yeah. So that's just so when you wonder why entertainment feels inauthentic, it is because for the sake of the shift in our culture as far as social social causes and things like that, they're pushing towards that because of the desire for, I don't know if we call that equity or equality, but it's a weird, perverse identity politics laden thing that's going on in our culture, and is it inherently bad? No, but is it extremely easy to make it feel inauthentic? Yes, absolutely.
There was a Nickelodeon study that was noted on the side of this. In the study, they said similar casting exercise was deployed with children ages 9 to 12, and the majority said they would cast a white boy as the hero, 52%, compared to only 19% who would cast a black boy in the same role. In addition, the children only considered casting black or Hispanic, but not white or Asian characters as the bully or villain. The difference in our results from this survey could be because youth are becoming more progressive, or because older teens are less inclined to stereotype based on historical representation. I don't think those possibilities, I don't think either of those possibilities for the difference are realistic. I think children are just more likely to respond to a survey like that based on the entertainment that they already like.
Yeah.
They like a Spider-Man. They like an Iron Man. They like a Batman. These are white male superheroes.
And every time
they're going to answer based on what they like already.
But by the time they get older, then more social conditioning has set in, and they're going to change their answer based on what they think.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, youth aren't becoming more progressive since 2020. Like, that's
like
not
2 years.
possible.
No.
So I think it is just conditioning their tastes over the years.
That if it was just 2 years and it was becoming more progressive, that's a scary jump in just a 2 year
From 2019
period of time.
and 2020 to now. That's not long enough.
I want to know who they polled too. Did they poll like 100 people from like Arizona? Like who did they get
for the Nickelodeon study or this one?
Yeah, all these studies. Like
this one was 662 teens that they aimed to match demographically with the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they could have those 600. So that's a very small segment. They could have had eggs for breakfast, and maybe that changed the way they saw the color green. Like there's no way. Yep. You need a large segment of the population if you want an accurate polling.
This is interesting on its face, but to me, a lot of this stuff is it's very easy to manipulate data for your own ends.
I mean, I think you want the best actor. Honestly, I don't care what they look like. I thought Blade was phenomenal. Wesley Snipes is so good.
I just watched it again like the other day.
Dude, I just saw an ad for it. I mean, that was just a rock star movie because I don't know, he's like a martial artist. He's definitely
he's in real life he's a martial artist.
Practiced martial artist as in the role of an action hero is key. I mean,
plus he just has a level of like cool that not everybody has, right? It's like, for instance, when he was cast in Major League One, the first Major League movie with Charlie Sheen, they had Omar Epps replace him in the second one because I don't know if that's when he went to jail for tax evasion, but we love you, Wesley Snipes. We love you. But the point is like Omar Epps is a fantastic actor, but he doesn't have the cool factor that Wesley Snipes had because you can't teach that kind of thing.
Yeah, Willie Mays Hayes.
Yeah, exactly.
That movie was fantastic.
The funny thing is he's actually Omar Epps is good in the second one. It's just it doesn't stand up next to the first one.
I was Ohio boy and I was a Cleveland Indians fan, and man, the Indians sucked. Then that movie came out and all of a sudden the Indians turned it around. They started winning. They started winning championships, and then they won the American League championship.
People got mad at me recently.
It was like the movie inspired them. It was crazy.
A couple of years ago, because I would wear an old Cleveland Indians hat, and that's not allowed anymore. But I was like, they're like, you can't wear that. I'm like, I was like, they're like, you're not even from Cleveland. I'm like, no, but I love the movie Major League, so I can wear this hat.
I thought that was interesting because I did think they should change the name to the Cleveland Natives. I thought would have been a cool name.
Yeah.
Because like in India, they called them Indians, but it wasn't in India. So like, duh. Why do you keep calling them Indians if you know it's not Indian now? And it was weird. It was like an insult.
Well, what about the Redskins then?
Exactly. Like their skin's not actually red. But
do you think they should have changed it?
They're calling people white skins or black skins. Yeah, I think that's highly. Personally, I think it's highly offensive to be like if I called somebody black skin. It'd be so offensive.
My favorite part in the second movie. Do you remember the when Willie Mays Hayes takes the summer off and he does a movie with Jesse Ventura, in the sequel, and it's like
I didn't see the sequel.
Oh, it's like he becomes an action star in the sequel, and he's Black Hammer and Wesley and Jesse Ventura's White Lightning, and together they're taking on the mob. It's ridiculous. Like I would have paid money to get that actual movie made, but it's just like a fake movie in the thing where they're just killing mobsters left and right.
It's a good debate of whether or not they should change the name of like Redskins. They did? Is that
They
true?
did, but it's still controversial.
Yeah, I thought it was offensive when I started getting into my social justice phase in like 2017. I was like, what are they doing?
I want to point out something interesting in the study. It says that younger teens ranked superhero stories higher than older teens did. They ranked it third on their top 5 preferences, and the older teens had it last on their top 5. And then I also found
I would have thought that to be the opposite. I would have thought that
older teens would prefer superhero.
Well, it just feels like it's a fad that's going to eventually wane out, and that the younger people would be less interested in it than the older ones.
Because the superhero content is objectively going downhill quality-wise. So
by far.
I don't know. And I mean, maybe the push to make it more like kid-friendly with Disney acquiring Marvel is
that could be why.
Part of that.
Yeah.
But I also found it hopeful that family life was, and like relationships with parents was ranked in their top 5 for both groups.
That's interesting too, because given how much they care about the concept of representation, it would be very hard. Like you're gonna have to make shows for literally every demographic, because if it's heavily focused on family and your family life isn't exactly like the one you're seeing on screen, you're gonna have a hard time identifying with it.
They
By
want
them,
more
not me,
stories
but
about family life and relationships with parents. It doesn't necessarily mean something positive. It doesn't mean a positive portrayal necessarily, but maybe a realistic one, or just a mix.
You ever see the Wonder
stories?
Years? I thought the Wonder Years was a really good show.
Yeah, that was a
great.
fantastic portrayal of family
Except
life,
for
I think.
Fred Savage is now persona non grata.
Truly a savage.
Yeah, well, he
He's-
shouldn't have been a savage.
Shouldn't have felt that girl up in the bathroom. That was
Oh, I didn't know he did
yeah,
that.
he's
That's confirmed?
I mean, as much as it can be.
Like,
you
did
know.
it
I
happen a
thought
long
that
time
it was
ago?
just confirmed he was kind of a jerk.
He was a jerk, and like he was he's raised on TV sets. I'm sure his personal skills are not.
What a lot.
They're lacking.
But I want to point one thing that bothered me about this is that there is this frightening amount of people that think of social media as authentic.
Yes.
That is terrifying.
Well,
social media is just as easy to edit and manipulate to look authentic.
easier than,
if anything.
Is this show considered social media?
No. I guess because it depends on if
Well-
you're are you a person that considers YouTube a social media platform?
I think it is.
I
It
don't think
definitely
of it-
is, because influencers get their start here as vloggers, and that is seen, at least, I don't know if this is correct, but it's seen as more authentic than being in a professional, clean-cut production, right?
Well, yeah.
Like Tana Mojo is like, she got her start on YouTube telling story time videos from her real life that we don't know whether they're real or not, but that is why she had that relatability factor and blew up to the point she's at today.
Even a lot of musicians that got their start on YouTube started off and I think the labels went out of their way to make it seem like they didn't have label support, because it kind of helped their image as an independent artist, right? So you could
Justin Bieber was one of the first that got scouted off of YouTube.
But like a lot of them, they would make their own music videos, and the videos would be more kind of creative and done on a smaller budget, and they looked professional, but they didn't look like it was written by somebody in Hollywood. And I think that helped it sell it as a more independent form of media, even though a lot of them ended up working for labels.
I feel like with this show, if you turn the comments off, it just becomes a media show. But when you turn the comments on, it becomes social media, because people are socializing with us as we're making the media.
Yeah, I guess in a way we're
the live chat makes it an inherently interactive medium.
So it's the interactivity that makes it social media?
Maybe
I suppose so. I mean, it is, although it's flawed and limited inherently, it is essentially human communication. That's what's going on here.
May speak more to how you got your show. Like when I started, my YouTube account goes back to 2005, and that's posting skating clips. That's not inherently social. That's just posting something for people to see, not really interacting with them, right?
But that's what you post on Instagram too,
Yes.
and it's still a social media platform.
But it's, at the time, it's not like I was responding to comments or something like that. That wasn't as common back then. Like I wasn't responding to everyone, and you didn't follow their channel if they left you a comment or something like that. That's more personal on Instagram.
Well, it's optional on both platforms.
Yes.
So, like, you can post and go on any platform. It doesn't make it not a social media platform. You're still putting forward some kind of communication, even if it's not a back and forth text exchange. I wonder why TikTok was rated as the most authentic social
scary.
media platform by far.
Well, like with content that inherently limited in its length, how do you judge authenticity? Right?
It's
don't
also
know.
it's owned by ByteDance, which is owned by the, I don't know if it's Chinese Communist Party owns.
Yeah.
Or they don't really own ByteDance, but I think that the ByteDance has to serve the party.
Yeah, if you want to run a business there, you essentially have to be.
But I don't know if people know that. The people that are saying it's the most genuine.
We do. I mean, I think like I forget sometimes that we're in our own sphere of knowledge. Like I shared something the other day about as close as to politics as you'll get from me on social media. But basically it was a thing where a guy points out that in America, what you're going to get algorithmically on TikTok is dancing and stupidity. Whereas if you're in China,
disagree.
The TikTok, the algorithm is going to feed you engineering, science videos, things that help them. It wants to promote the idea of science and knowledge to people in their sphere. In China, here they want to algorithmically push forward silliness that they think will dumb down America.
I disagree with that generalization because there's a lowest common denominator in both audiences.
It's not a generalization. I'm saying that they've said that that's what the algorithm does.
I mean, I think that's too broad of a statement to make because one of the observations that participants had was that they learn from TikTok, maybe not correct information, but like TikTok has made it a lot easier to blow up on a platform for zeroing in on your niche, and often that is informational content. So when I was on TikTok, I got a lot of videos in my For You page that were deep dives into different topics. Like I learned about interior design trends and fashion history and just random things like that. That was an easy way to blow up on the platform. You don't need to like get naked and like shake your ass on TikTok to blow up on the platform.
Is it? I don't know much.
You just need to have the right niche and just stick to that. And it's like one of the most democratic social media platforms that we've had so far.
I'd love to look at the search algorithms. I wonder what about it gets people the stuff that they want. If the algorithm just understands people better than YouTube's algorithm, or if there's different kind of content on TikTok.
I don't know. I mean, YouTube has been criticized for having this pipeline that manipulates people's tastes, but then TikTok is praised for its algorithm analyzing what people's tastes already are and then catering to them. Now, there's a lowest common denominator on both platforms. Like Cocomelon is on YouTube and that just autoplays and brainwashes toddlers. But and like TikTok has vapid lip syncing videos and role playing videos that are stupid and low IQ too. I wouldn't say that the generalization is correct that like all of American audiences are fed the same content or the same caliber of content.
I guess YouTube does want 10-minute plus videos, and for a little kid just to be browsing through and see a lot of different funny pictures, moving pictures, maybe they want to find 20-second videos. TikTok's geared for short content. YouTube's geared for long content.
Yeah, right now it is, or at least YouTube, when it's not favoring long form content, it's favoring auto playing. Like auto playing kids entertainment is a huge problem for the next generation. I think when we were researching today, I found this article that was titled "Cocaine Melon and Why Toddlers Can Get Addicted to Watching Cocomelon." Have you heard of it?
No, what is Cocomelon?
It's the second most subscribed channel on YouTube, and they have like 131 million subscribers right now. I think second to T-Series, if I recall correctly. But they have a bunch of animated shorts for children with like music and flashing bright colors and very little dialogue. So I found this article where a child development specialist said that Cocomelon is highly overstimulating and likely to result in behavioral and attention disorders. She said Cocomelon is so hyperstimulating that it acts as a drug, a stimulant. The brain receives a hit of dopamine from screen time, and it seems that the stronger the drug, aka the level of stimulation a show delivers, the stronger the hit. So children as young as like 2 or 3 are having withdrawal symptoms
so you're ready to move
from
OBS
Cocomelon.
between pieces.
You good?
That's wild.
Yeah. So like they have the constant changing of scenes every like 2 to 8 seconds. They have catchy jingles. There's this TikTok trend where parents would play the opening jingle to Cocomelon videos and see how fast their children come running into the room. And they would also like record their children's reactions to having it turned off, and they would just absolutely lose their minds. That's the direction that entertainment is going for Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
At least Gen Z had the privilege of growing up without that same accessibility to entertainment where you could just put it in a child's hands.
I'm watching it right now. It's hyper realistic, like except for the animated, the people you can tell they're like Pixar quality animation type,
Yeah.
but everything else it kind of looks real.
Here's the thing that I was talking about before. I just want to point this out real quick, whether true or not. It says TikTok's algorithm in China promotes education, innovative crafts, morally positive, feel-good videos while holding back twerking, crime culture, sexualization, but push all that nonsense over to the West so that our children are raised on nonsense. That, I mean, whether true or not, that means it's only inherently done through censorship by the Chinese government. That's what
I don't doubt. Yeah, I don't doubt that they have a different algorithm.
But that was the point that I was
Chinese
making.
nationals.
That they're getting their own content. They're pushing
Yes.
so that they're raising their kids on a different message than we are.
I don't think it's impossible that, though, that American users can access the same level of informative content if their For You page notices that they enjoy it. That's the type of content that I got quite often on TikTok.
I would say then
Not all the time.
that
but
would
often.
be there would have to be a shift in culture for that to become more prevalent here.
Yeah, and that's up to us. That's our
Yes.
responsibility.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's China does it by force. We would have to do it by choice, which is kind of the essence of freedom.
Obviously, way more difficult.
All
And I guess where we fundamentally disagree sometimes.
Dude, I'm fascinated with this Cocomelon thing because I think that people believe that if something's a cartoon that it's more safe for a kid, but firstly cartoons and real life are blending. The graphics are becoming so good it's hard to tell sometimes, and secondly you can have a really dangerous message animated. Doesn't mean it's less dangerous because it's animated.
That was what happened with Elsa Gate, where these children were being recommended a pipeline of sorts
I
to
remember that.
extremely inappropriate themes and animated content that seemed to be generated by AI, showing violence and sexuality of animated
However
characters.
many videos down, and after like you watch a video, then you get your watch list. Your next video plays, and then it plays and plays.
Yeah.
And it gets worse and progressively worse until you're into what was it? It was like.
I mean, there were like it was mainly like Spider-Man and Elsa. Those were like live action videos, but there were also animated videos that showed well-known children's characters like hurting each other and like sexual themes, violence, and just
well, weren't you
very
like
gross stuff.
Weren't you like you and like Andrew, like we were watching like really funny like bad Joker videos on YouTube that one time.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone like that is doing it in a more self-aware way. But like, I've seen children's cartoons on YouTube that they've got to be either AI generated or made by like seriously sinister people. Sinister.
Did you see the new AI art where they're like, hey, art, make, and you'll type in all the parameters, make like an Egyptian model of Duncan Trussell with magic mushrooms growing out of it, and then it'll show you. So like, whereas in 1960 the cartoons were run through like the FCC, whatever the iteration of the FCC was at that time, there were like government organizations making sure it wasn't too racy for kids. You knew ahead of time, someone had done the pre-protection for you,
decency laws,
stuff like that. Now anyone can go into an AI and be like, show me this, and then upload it, and like, you don't know unless you see it ahead of time if it's going to be offensive or warp a kid's mind.
It's brain
that
rot.
was never going to go away the second the internet was invented and kids could say, yes, I am 17, yes, I am 18 to a site they weren't supposed to be on. This is always the end trajectory.
Let's go to Super Chats. False God Dark Soul said, please watch and review Riddle of the Rock.
I've never heard of that.
441 YouTube?
That is a new one to me.
I haven't heard of that. Call Me Snow Possum said, it's impossible to hum while holding your nose.
I'm not going to do that on air because I don't know if that's like a weird challenge. There you go.
I don't know.
I heard the struggle.
Dark Wire Wave said, finally caught the show live. Don't even care about pop culture stuff that much, but you guys make it entertaining. Cheers.
Well, that's our job.
Yeah.
We love to hear that.
We are here to make it entertaining.
That's right.
Cyber Doctor said, Ian, I watched a video of you singing I'm a Vampire and you dressed exactly like Shanks from One Piece. Are you a One Piece fan or is this coincidence?
I think it's coincidence. I don't know who One Piece is.
I don't know either.
I came up with that song on the spot.
Call Me Snow Possum said, also, did you know sloths can hold their breath longer than dolphins can?
I did not know that.
No.
But they need less breath because they do less movement, right? Maybe. Waffles Sensei said, be a shame if people could escape the wokeness using escapism. But honestly, the more they ruin escapist content, the easier it is for us to build it.
We're going to talk more about parallel economies later.
Francisco Sanchez Jr. said, hi, y'all. The more secular we become, the further new generations will have a hard time finding purpose. It's hard to lay down a foundation with a secular worldview.
Is that true?
I absolutely agree, but I'm biased because I'm religious.
Like, I could see that because even me, who does not consider himself to be necessarily a bad person, has like trouble sometimes finding not meaning, but like there's definitely foundational elements that I almost am envious of that I do not have, that religion provides that I just don't have. But I get the utility of it.
I think for sure, because science is my religion, and that it has been.
There's a
throughout my
religion
life.
for that. It's called science.
Oh yeah, Scientology.
Yes.
Without science and without like telescopes and watching the cosmic microwave background radiation, I never would have thought that God was real or anything like that, and that I wonder what the hell the purpose was. Now I actually believe there's a purpose.
Excellent.
Call Me Snow Possum said one last thing. Ian, hello there.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Rascal King said, is the Rascal King a mantle?
No, it is not.
It is not. Only you can be Rascal King.
Only
Rascal King.
you can be the Rascal King. We do not want there to be a different Rascal King for a new generation.
Isn't that a song by Mighty
King?
Boss Tones? Yeah, it's a fantastic song.
Man, we should all get bucket hats and go to a
the Rascal King, dude. Check it out, Mighty Boss Tones.
Go to a Mighty Boss Tones concert.
It's a great song.
I got some khaki pants we can all wear.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Ian, I just have one word for you, graphene.
With
Really?
multiple exclamation marks.
In all caps.
All right.
Kiernoth said, they ignore the fact a majority of Zoomers still want something that's an escape and fun. They also completely left YouTube out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think YouTube.
They did.
YouTube is kind of the. They're all chasing YouTube now.
I think YouTube is the most authentic social media
Probably.
platform if you can group it in with the rest.
Yeah.
Because I watch 3-4 hour long podcasts on YouTube. That's as authentic as you can get on any platform.
I tend to listen to my podcasts more than watch them.
Yeah, even when they have a visual component, that's just like if you get curious in the middle on like what they look like. But most of the time, I'm doing other stuff.
Actually, that's really funny because there's a one of mine that I like is I love wrestling podcasts. I haven't watched wrestling in years because the product is very hard to watch these days. But I still love the industry as a whole. And there's a wrestling podcast called Wrestling Soup, and there's a guy in it named Joey Numbers. And I finally saw a picture of what he looks like, and he somehow looked exactly like I imagined.
Oh wow!
He looked like.
That's
like
I don't normally hear that. I usually hear the opposite.
He looked like if you could imagine a dude named Joey Numbers from Boston. He looks exactly like him.
Did he have a backwards hat on?
He had he had a hat on.
Oh,
I don't
nice.
remember if it was backwards, but he had a hat on,
Hell
and
yeah.
he looked like a guy named Joey Numbers. It was incredible.
Carnell said, "Mine fell the hardest. Mine are the deadest."
That is from Major League 2 from Black Hammer and White Lightning when he goes, so basically they take out a bunch of mobsters and they both got their guns and he goes, mine fell the hardest. He goes, mine are the deadest. And then they hit the butt of their guns together and start laughing, look at the camera. It's incredible.
Yesh said, "Ian, when is the cooking show coming? And have you ever made cream of sun?"
You don't want to say
No, I haven't.
That is,
I have not.
What?
That is a Wayne's World reference.
I know
Oh,
that movie
some
very
young
well.
guy.
Yes, that is.
We love Wayne's World here.
Yes, we do. That is one of the best parts of that movie.
I've
too.
seen that movie probably 50 times. That was my after-school movie. That and Aladdin back in the 90s.
That is an eclectic set of movies for
Aladdin.
Aladdin, the animated Disney movie. I just loved it. Robin Williams was such a genius, and the music too was really great. I was in musical theater and stuff at the time.
Tia Carrera was an absolute smoke
Oh,
show.
dude, all those Dana Carvey. I mean Meyer. Yeah.
Yep.
There's no set plan for the cooking show. I'd like to do a cooking show, but we don't have any time frame set up for it yet.
Well, who's your favorite character in Wayne's World?
Wayne. I loved Wayne, man. Yeah, I identified with Wayne a lot. I liked them all though. What's his name? The villain, in the first one.
The one that Rob Lowe plays.
Yeah, Rob, dude,
Lowe.
he's so good. Like that was his comedy breakout
It's like-
when he even realized, oh, I guess I'm funny.
The funny part is he's kind of like a Paul Rudd that he looks the same age. He never really ages.
Yeah.
And he's like he's in that thing. I think my favorite part is when he was like, "We all know that there is no film in this camera," and he opens it up and all the film starts to fall out. Also,
I need to rewatch this.
Also,
So good.
I was no, I'll save that story. Never mind.
No?
I can't tell that story.
Why?
I can't tell that story.
But now
Too
everyone's
Wayne.
going to
I
want to
know.
know.
It's not important. It is, okay. I was
Okay.
I was dating a girl and she said she loved that movie, and this was like one of the funny things where like you catch somebody whether it was a lie or she just didn't remember, but like I totally did like camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, and she didn't get what I was referring to.
Oh,
It's
really?
yeah.
Not a real fan.
Not a real fan.
Yeah, every fan knows.
Born Mexican, raised in America, said, "When I played DC Universe online, I created my avatar with a dark skin and gadget powers. The body type changed, but I wish they had a chubby type just to look more like me. Wrestlers are superheroes in comics." Wait, what? Sups in comic?
It's like I'm not coming around. Like the representation argument, I've kind of. It's become manipulated because a lot of them are basing him on immutable characteristics, but I find more people are amenable to that concept than they realize. They just don't. They think some are more important than others, and everybody has their own. Like we're going to talk about fathers later, and that's inherently in a discussion about representation.
The media is
Yes.
representation of things
Yes.
and people.
Yeah,
So, I think the word really has been twisted.
Yes.
It's sort of like ESG.
It's a very surface level argument for something that should be much deeper.
Yeah, they said that 79.2% of teens reported they found themselves feeling sometimes or always isolated and upset when media lacked accurate identity representations, which is such a leading question.
That's why you got to make your own videos so that the media starts to make representation out of people like you.
There you go. Do you want to save them and then come back after segment 2?
Sure.
Okay. All right, guys. We're going to move on, and we're going to talk about... Let's go. There is a wonder drug coming out of Hollywood. And the reason I wanted to cover this first is because yesterday we talked about Bryce Dallas Howard, and we talked about her being asked to lose weight for like Jurassic World Dominion. And people had a problem with that. They weren't a fan of that, but
Because people are a fan of Bryce Dallas Howard's huge ass.
that God bless it. I say. God bless it. So it says, is that blasphemous? Should I not say that?
No.
I didn't think of it that way.
Okay,
Sounded
perfect.
good to me.
All right, so it says Hollywood's secret new weight loss drug revealed. The hype and hazards of, how do you pronounce this? Ozempic?
Ozempic?
Sounds right to me.
Semaglutide.
So
Semaglutide
Hell yeah.
We'll
is
go with
the actual name of the drug. It's an injection, and it's for pre-diabetic people, made by Novo Nordisk.
a Danish company.
A Danish pharma company.
There's some very interesting parts in here that prove to you just how different their lives are than the lives we will ever lead.
This reminds me actually of a rare but extremely deadly eating disorder where people who have type 1 diabetes will not inject insulin so that they don't metabolize the sugar they eat, and they will end up losing way too much weight.
Yeah.
And then it like can kill you extremely quickly. It sounds similar to this, but they are like artificially
Doing it on their own.
Subduing the secretion of insulin in their bodies so that they're able to be satiated by food for a much longer time.
So it says one top power broker told Variety that half of her call sheet last week was full of friends and clients wanting to discuss the risks of Ozempic, which has claimed devotees from every corner of the industry. Moguls, reality stars, veteran film producers, and of course, actors are quietly singing the drug's praises on Signal. So they're in their own chats, in their own groups.
It's funny how they hate Telegram, but they use Signal. And they hate horse paste, but they love Ozempic.
Funny how that works, right? The virtue signaling never ends. The encrypted messaging app mostly used for confidential conversations, hair, makeup, and styling teams for celebrities have come to accept the injections as part of the grooming rituals ahead of major events. These are the people that are telling you how to raise your family, that are telling you what to do with your life, that are telling you the traits that you have that are either inherently good or bad, that are
telling you are medically vicious
for not wearing a mask out in public by yourself, and they're over here like, can I get some of that Ozempic?
They
man?
sure are fans of alternative medicine when it artificially cosmetically benefits them.
And it also talks, it brings to mind the fact that they talk a lot about representation and beauty in Hollywood and body sizes of all bodies of all sizes. No.
Body positivity and body positive activism and even body neutrality movements, whatever, they have always been run by usually skinny women who don't want competition. Yep. They are like promoting the idea that everyone is beautiful, but then spend 5 hours a day on a Peloton.
Plus, they understand that they can preach that all they want. The executives are going to have a different set of rules for what they actually want in their movies.
And that reminds me of the part of Charlize Theron's interview that we're about to talk about, where she's lining up a bunch of supplemental juices and like green drinks that she has to drink to follow the orders of directors who need her to look a certain way.
The funny, this I didn't even get that far before her article annoyed me. It's the part about the wardrobe that really bothered me. Okay,
yeah,
you're an actor, right? I'm going to get off topic here for just a second. You're an actor. You're hired to read lines, to give a performance. There are a bunch of other departments, right? You've got your hair and makeup. You've got your wardrobe department. You've got directors. You've got editors. She says right here, one thing that it really annoyed her was... So she says
really effing annoyed her.
Was one of her biggest pet peeves was when she was starting out as a professional actor was men controlling what she wore on screen. Having absolutely no control over what you're wearing is a big one that really effing annoyed me for years. It is not your job to decide what you wear on screen. The filmmaking process is incredibly in-depth, detailed, and collaborative to the point where there are plenty of shows, right? Here's a surface level example from a very basic show. The CSIs, right? They would do color, like CSI Miami would do color palettes for their actors, meaning that the members of the main cast wore a certain color palette for that episode, and it was supposed to be a visual cue to know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. It is not your job as an actor to decide what you wear on set. It is the job of much of a different department who's likely making a hell of a lot less money than you.
Yeah, that's for cohesion. You have an artistic
Exactly.
director.
It's visually important.
It seems to suggest that costume designers are in an all-male department in studios, and that's just not true. And it also doesn't get to the heart of what she really wanted to complain about, which was like predatory or sleazy behavior from male directors.
Yeah.
She said having some guy make you have a fitting almost in front of them, stuff like that is really belittling. When I started, there was no conversation around it. It was like, this is what you're wearing. And I remember one movie in particular, this male director who just kept bringing me in fitting after fitting after fitting after. And it was just so obvious that it was to do with my sexuality and how effable they could make me in the movie. And when I started out, that was just kind of the norm.
There's no return to middle ground in power here. They will now have all the power because they can make this complaint anytime and provide no proof.
Why is it a problem? I mean, effable is sort of a... I mean, that's not an accurate way to phrase it. You're supposed to look attractive,
Yes.
visually attractive on screen to any audience, not just sexually, but like aesthetically. You are part of someone else's artistic work.
Well, I mentioned
You
on
need to look how they want you to look. And if you can collaborate on how you dress in a certain project, then that's fortunate, but it's not something that she would be entitled to.
Yeah. Well, remember we were talking about Ariel and
Yes.
and Halle Bailey, and she's like, I was really glad that they said, what can we put of me in this character? Your job is not to be you in the character. Your job is to be the character. Otherwise, It's just an exercise in narcissism.
So we've gone from one extreme, it seems, to the other, where you don't have the choice not to incorporate your personal identity and your style into the character you're playing. It was something that was proposed to Halle Bailey by the director of The Little Mermaid, not the other way around.
Yeah.
They were the ones that introduced the idea of incorporating her real self into her character, incorporating her dreadlocks into her red hair. I don't think that was originally her idea.
Fighting back against Hollywood's urge to sexualize women has been a consistent theme of Theron's career. There are plenty of women that have no problem being attractive on screen. The term sexualize in itself is inherently loaded. It's a loaded term. It's part of the job to be attractive on camera. And the idea that you can, remove it is impossible.
Yeah, but I know she's talking about having a dude bring her in and have her try on a bunch of different outfits. And then he's like, why don't you turn around? Why don't you try these shorts on? And it's like, dude.
Well, that's behind the scenes.
This is how it goes in
That's
Hollywood.
behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What it sounds like here
I
is
don't doubt
referring
that
to-
sleazy behavior like that happens,
It's
and that is a
gross.
problem. And if she wants to talk about it, then talk about it. I applaud her for that. But it seems that she's painting it with a broad brush that she deserves creative control over how her characters look.
It's a good point, because if you're going to take that big paycheck, I mean, that's part of that industry. For better or worse, I don't know if you can change it. This is Bryce Howard saying this stuff?
No, this is Charlize Theron.
Charlize, I don't know if you can change it. I mean, it's good to speak up against it. I had to leave the industry. I felt like it was up against a monolith trying to pull sex out of that, because it's like, it's a visual art, and they want to sell tickets to young men, and they will in any way they can to make profit, because the market don't care about your feelings for the most part.
Fun
But
fact:
sometimes-
women want to see hot women too. Men do not. Men want to see hot women.
Aspirational content.
Men want to see hot women. Women want to see hot women. Women want to see hot men. Men want to see men that are of great stature and do great things on screen, which just happen to be good-looking dudes, right? People just want to see attractive people on screen.
Rich, famous, attractive
Yes,
people.
unfortunately, that's the
how
way
it
of
is.
the world.
Yeah, that's human psychology. I mean, sometimes though, to what you were saying, Ian, going for just sexual appeal in entertainment doesn't even end up driving profits. So like we sometimes mention Jennifer's Body and how terribly that movie was marketed with Megan Fox, because it was 2009 and it was Megan Fox, and they thought, let's market this to young men who want to see Megan Fox being hot.
Yeah.
When that movie actually was more for a female audience, they mismarketed it to the point where they lost out on so much money. So it's like, and then we were also recently talking about House of the Dragon and the amount of like sexual deviancy and incest that they show in that series, and how their viewership is consistently dropping, and it's not anywhere near what Game of Thrones had.
Still higher than Lord of the Rings, from what I understand. Still beating Lord of the Rings.
We can't solely say that's about the sexual content.
And to be
but
fair,
I'm saying,
that
like,
stuff is in the books.
Sexual content does not automatically guarantee you profit.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the drug story. So this is just what I'm talking about, the hypocrisy of all of it, right? These are the people that virtue signal and tell you how to live your life and tell you to accept everyone the way they are and want to make themselves out to be the everyman when they clearly hate the everyman. They hate flyover states.
It's not even the everyman. Like, they want to be at the pulpit of our society.
So, yeah.
And they make no... like they don't care about how that appears to the mainstream audience.
Who are you saying? Who's they?
Hollywood.
So it says $1,200 to $1,500 a month if you want to go out and buy just one pen of that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And this is
semaglutide,
causing a shortage of the medication for the pre-diabetic patients who need it.
Because it's making their butts smaller, or it's making them lose fat. Is that what
they're losing weight? Yeah.
And it's only been proven to reduce it by like 15% of body mass.
And it's basically stopping them from eating.
Yeah, it just satiates them for longer. But
dude,
this
just
is
suffering fast, bro. What are you doing?
Well,
they literally have nutritionists and stylists and every staff in the book that could help them look how they want to look, but they're instead going this route of alternative medicine that the long-term effects are not known. This has only been studied for like 2 years. And
same thing happens every time some like flabby actor gets cast as a superhero, and then he makes the miraculous 6 month transition, and he's just absolutely shredded, and you're like,
Hollywood has their ways.
Yes. Well, in 6 months to get to that's not done
natty.
Naturally.
Not natty.
There's HGH. There's all sorts of things that are being done, and because they have the ability to do so, and they have to do so on screen,
CGI.
I don't even really care if they do that. I just care that they don't tell me that I have to live a certain way.
Are they CGIing?
No,
pecs and stuff?
I don't think they do that as much anymore. Okay, here's a really funny thing. There's a when he was in Ghost Rider, Nicolas Cage said he would never again work out and get a 6-pack for a role because he got one for doing Ghost Rider, and people said it was CGI'd, and he was so offended by that. He's like, I'm never doing that again.
But didn't they CGI Natalie Portman?
Yes, her arms definitely had CGI to him. But like the men are just kind of expected to. They would talk about how like when they were filming like Captain America, Civil War, like basically they would work out extensively. They would get their dates ahead of time as to like where the scenes would be. Where they'd either be shirtless or need to look their best, and they would work out heavily up until that day, like right up until they shot those
dehydrate.
scenes. Yeah, and then when it's done, they go and they kind of take some time off, and they're like, oh my god,
carb load.
Or Ben Affleck when he was Batman, take that, Dane. You can see there's vast differences in his size when they did reshoots for Justice League, because by the time they did the reshoots, he had shrunk down to his more normal shape and size, because they're aspirational and they work out to get to that size, but then you can't maintain that forever, especially as you get older. And it's not like they can only work out. They've got other things they have to do in their life. There's plenty of people that have absolutely amazing physiques, but that's their career, right? They work in the nutrition industry, stuff like that. So it's just fascinating to me that they want to lecture you. They want to tell you how to live your life, and they're looking for any pharmaceutical means they can to get an edge.
Even the alternative to Ozempic called Wegovy, I believe.
Yeah.
They are they're making that scarce too for patients. Like, it's all at the expense of ordinary people. Yep. And like, it just shows the recklessness and I mean, the fact that it's such a poorly kept secret shows that they really don't care about how they look anymore, except for how their physicality. Like, we see that Hollywood has the least body positive or body neutral culture And
Unless
yet
they're virtue signaling about it.
And yet they want to, preach from the pulpit to the masses about how they should feel about their body image.
Do you guys feel that do you feel like there's an inherent sort of maliciousness to the body positive movement? Like I've heard plenty of people think that it's like it's designed to like
it's such a psyop.
Like they think that they're doing it so that people will like it's like natural selection. They just want people to not be healthy so that they either die younger or like
the body positive movement comes from the green juice drinking, Ozempic injecting, Peloton using class.
There's nothing wrong with Peloton. I got a friend.
No, there's nothing wrong with any of that and fitness and caring about how you look. But you can't enjoy those things, that luxury, and then tell other people that they shouldn't care.
There's that toxic compassion. We had a guest on IRL at one point talking about that.
That's absolutely, that's a big part of how our culture got to the point it's at. I was watching a video earlier. It might have been a Joey B. Tunes video where it's like a dude, he's like at work, he's wearing like a wolf mask and he's like jumping up and down. And it's like, this is a culture of people who never told this person, you need help. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. And the problem is they can articulate
no reality checks.
They can articulate why they're like that, and they sound coherent. So you mistake coherency for sanity, and you just leave them be. When what you should be saying is, "Look, you need help. I'm not judging you. I don't think any less of you, but I want you to be able to live an existence that's full." And helps you reach your full potential, and not to have you acting in a way that's so far outside the realms of where society is that you're an aberration to the point where people are making videos about you.
I guess it's tough to help other people because you can really only help yourself. And it takes a lot of energy to try and help one person.
That's the thing. But our culture used to be one that would kind of do that through not public shaming, but there was an accepted level of culture, and then it just kind of. We gave in. And I'm probably more than a lot of people here fall into the like, look, do it as long as you're not hurting someone else. I don't really care what you do. But there is an inclination in me to be like, maybe I should be helping these people, but I'm also not, I'm not one to force my views or beliefs on other people. But I do worry that they're not well, and that they're not going to be able to live the life that they could if they got help. But is it my place to do that?
There are spheres of care and spheres of influence that you have to parse out. If you can definitely care about someone's well-being, but if their life and their well-being is outside of your sphere of influence that you could ever possibly affect them, then for your own sanity you have to let it go, essentially.
And that's like one of the easy ways for people to be really like who get away with jerkish behavior, and it's a lot of people use that as an excuse, is where they'll leave like really like awful comments to people like that, and they say, I'm just trying to I
just care about their health.
I just care. I just want them to get a reality check. No, you don't. You just want to be a dick. Because if you actually wanted to help them, it would be a longer process, and you'd have to be more involved. But that's not what you really want. Mm-hmm. So
if I want someone to be healthy, I think the best thing I could do is get healthy. And then be public about it.
And be an example.
Yeah. And hope that they see it. I can't like shove it down their throat. You know, I can only kind of walk around and do it.
We as a culture tend to reject things that are forced upon us. Look at what happened in 2020. like wear the mask. No, I'm not wearing the mask. Take this. I'm not taking this. Do this. I'm not doing this.
Ian, when you were acting, did you feel or just outright receive pressure to change how you look? For roles?
No, it never got to that point. But I never got that far down the path. I was doing a lot of commercials. Well, not a lot. I did like 3. I think I booked 3 commercials. I was auditioning for a lot. I did a TV show, Aliens in America. I did the pilot for that on CW Network. But small roles. And when I got a manager at one point, and they were like, "You're just so sexual. I'm going to sell your sex." And I thought I could see that coming. Like, get ready for the injections. Get ready for the,
get ready for your Ozempic.
The long fasts and dehydration sessions to get my cut body so that they can take my shirt off. Because I would go in all skanky, like all like gangly and pale, and like I wasn't booking roles as a result. So That was a sort of, but they never overtly said like, "Yo, if you look like that, you're not going to get the role." But they were thinking it. I could tell they were thinking.
Tom
it.
Cruise did an interview in like the early '90s where he said the best thing you can do as an actor is to get into good shape.
For sure, I would be so much better of an actor than the people I was up against, but they would have ripped bodies and they'd get booked.
Yeah. Well, they pointed out because they would point out like look at like original Ghostbusters, and you look at like Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray. That was a movie star in the '80s, like. These kind of
I thought I'd be like my personality is gonna get me there, dude. That's an uphill battle if you think that way. Go in beautiful, and then your personality can take you the rest of the way.
That's true of men and women.
And you might get it with your personality, but it is very, very low chance in Hollywood.
To be fair, a lot of the articles are about like people saying women have to have these expectations about how they're supposed to look. Those expectations are on men as well, but they're also like not.
Definitely not nearly as rigid, I would say.
And not in theater, because I came from a theater background. No one really cared what your body looked like in theater. If you did take your shirt off, it would be they'd see you like 100 feet away, so they couldn't really get a look at how cut your gut was. And it was all personality mostly, and it was totally inverted in Hollywood.
And if you're an actor on the CW, you're expected to be extremely handsome or extremely beautiful. That's just the way that network works. So.
Yeah. Before we move on, I want to read this last part of the Variety article. They said, like any miracle weight loss drug, there's skepticism about long-term use. In addition to a leaner figure, a notable side effect is gastrointestinal phenomena. Bloating, constipation, diarrhea.
Yum.
When asked about this unpleasant risk, one talent publicist put it bluntly. Who cares? Everyone who works in this business has IBS anyway.
Oh, gross.
So that kind of, lends credence to Kanye's fake news, but still funny post about how Kim Kardashian has just an abnormal amount of diarrhea. Like, not anywhere near what a normal person would have.
I also want to point out, it's not like diet pills weren't a thing in Hollywood before. It's not like they haven't had...
They've always had these interventions, yeah.
So.
And plastic surgery has been around for much longer than people realize, too.
It's also weird to me, like how 90% of the articles we ignore, it's like so-and-so looked hot on the red carpet. And it's like they like to push both. Like you're inherently supposed to not push sexuality, but also we totally push sexuality.
Yes.
One of my biggest pet peeves is women talking about, I didn't want men telling me how to dress this way. And then, or they're pushing like androgynous looks in their movies, but then whenever you see them in the red carpet, they're as feminine can be, proving that they don't
not always, but yeah, a lot of the time.
Not for every Elliot Page, there's a better example of an Olivia Wilde. That's not the best example,
of
but
a Taylor Swift,
that when they get on the red carpet, they're back to looking exactly like people expect a beautiful woman to look. But when they're making their movies that are part of public consciousness that they're using to sway the opinion of the public, they're pushing a completely different look than what they actually put forth.
Yeah,
that bothers me.
Let's go to Super Chats. Bad App said, what makes the red man red from Peter Pan slaps? I haven't heard it. I don't think I was allowed to watch Peter Pan.
Why were you not allowed to watch Peter Pan?
Just all the Disney animated films.
Oh, they kept you off of them?
I guess so.
Princess films.
Yeah, the princess films, just all of them.
Oh, that's like a Native American thing, the red man. That's what they're talking about. Disney's Peter Pan makes the red man red.
Claimed Chowder said... First time watching live. Brett looks great blonde.
Well,
I think so too.
Thank you.
They love your hair.
Well, thank you.
What's life been like as a towhead?
I'm having far more fun.
So the rumors are true.
The rumors are true. I get all these great compliments. No, it's. At first, I didn't like it. I have slowly come around to it, but am hesitant due to the upkeep that it requires to keep your hair
So you're just going to let the dark, because I can see it's starting to come in dark now at the roots. It looks good.
It's starting to come in.
Are you just going to kind of let it grow its way back?
He's going to have frosted tips.
I threatened Mary and Hannah Claire that I would let it grow this long and just have random blonde tips at the end. It would be hilarious looking. So
I don't think you would allow that to happen.
It would be very hard to like keep it once it gets like this is the hardest part when it gets to like here.
Yeah, I know.
That's the worst part.
It's too short to like put in a tail, so it's all over, but it's not long enough. Or
I've shown Mary. I used to have like an undercut, and my hair came down to like here, and I would have to put it up. Like skating, I wouldn't be able to leave it down because it would get in my eyes. But it wasn't long enough where it like looked cool when it was on the side. Rough rough life there.
Yeah, it's
Growing your
like
hair
getting
out.
out of orbit.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part is right there. You know,
Like I can't look at a mirror for like 6 months while I wait for it to reach that last little bit. So
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, would you do a hat raffle for PCC?
maybe I will do a hat raffle someday.
He's got
On
plenty
top
of
of
hats
it.
for a hat raffle.
Dane asked the
We'll
other day.
see.
I don't know if he asked on air. He said, "How many hats do you have?" And I had to. I counted, but then I forgot like the ones that I don't have, like that are at home.
how many?
Like
Tons.
80. But like the rest are like only like 30 of them are like here, and I wear like the same however many.
You just reminded me that they asked me to wear a beanie today, and
You
I forgot it again.
You forgot.
Monday.
Any
Monday,
beanie in
I
particular?
swear. No, they just wanted to
Should
see
ask
me
Tim.
wear a beanie. I
Should
guess.
ask Tim for.
Are you gonna get like a custom beanie?
Oh, that would be cool.
We've
We should
got-
have PCC merch, and that would include beanies. For
It would
sure.
look cool with your background, like a pink beanie or
I
something.
I don't know if Tim would allow us to make. I feel like that's infringing on his brand. Like if we made beanies, because he's very he's talked about.
I thought he wanted to distance himself from the beanie.
He talked at one point about making beanies, but said like it would be hard because he's got a very specific like beanie.
Oh
he
yeah, didn't want
likes.
crap beanies.
Yeah, he wasn't going to release something he wasn't proud of. Like it had to be like one of the ones he liked, and the ones he likes are not. You can't like buy in bulk or something like that.
Yeah, they're
so
more expensive.
I have one of those. We had like step on snack beanies that like only a couple got made, and I have
Oh.
it. Yeah.
Nice. Tacti Platty said Mary's niche would be triggering people with carts.
Probably.
When I was on TikTok, my niche was triggering people, but not with carts.
Did
I
you ever
just
work at a
had hot
grocery?
takes.
Ever work at a grocery store? Do bagging or any of that?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty fun.
This is your
Humbling.
first job.
I mean, I don't want to review my whole
Work
history
history?
because
Well,
that
we're-
would be dangerous. But, like, no, it's not.
Okay.
Basically. Louis V said, I get the impression that TikTok is made for illiterates. Never used it myself. That's incorrect.
I'm a millennial, so I don't use TikTok, but I watch Instagrams of people who then put their TikToks on Instagram. So that
Yeah.
you're like 2 weeks behind the trend.
Yeah, that's how Reels is.
My favorites in the last couple of months, it's all the Andrew Tate ones where it's like when Andrew Tate finds out you don't have a Bugatti, and it's like an animated CGI Andrew Tate comes up behind you and punches you in the face. I love it.
Joe Duraki, aka Jay Dizzle, said, I finally got a notification for the show. Is that proof Ian is the Fed? Also, TikTok in China is driven by the government, and it only pushes educational and patriotic content per CCP policy.
Yes.
I'm sure they have mindless content too, though.
It's
Just
still
to a
probably
lesser
better
extent.
it's still probably better
And
than ours.
probably less violent and sexually charged.
I also want to point out, so you were talking earlier off air, you said that that it's possible that if you're releasing more than 3 videos a day that people might not be getting notifications.
Yeah, Luke told me that,
Okay.
and then I looked. I'm trying to find out. There was a Reddit thread about it. They said that it was maybe the help section on YouTube mentioned it, but I couldn't find an official statement from YouTube. But the idea is that if you do more than 3 videos a day, you're only getting notified for the first 3.
So what I think we're going to try and do starting next week is we're going to put out because we do 3, we break up these main segments into individual videos, and then we put those out the next day for people who might not have time to watch the full podcast. What I think we'll do is we'll put out the first 2, then the live show, and then we'll put the 3rd one out after the live show, and you guys can let us know if notifications are working better, if you get a notification for the show, and if you can let us know, that would help us greatly.
Be great.
So.
Claimed Chowder said using cartoons as propaganda isn't new.
Nope. Well, comics
Nope.
used to be war propaganda.
Oh yeah, Captain
Absolute-
America.
Captain America
fully
was
fought the Nazis back in the 40s.
punching Nazis, says Captain.
Remember kicking Red Skull off a boat? I think was that his first appearance.
That's so funny to me. Like punching Nazis. It's just so like it's like the lowest common to not like.
It's so vague.
It's just so funny. Like punch. He got to punch Hitler in the face. I feel like you could do so much more nuanced stuff with that. Like
The guy's like, hold on, I renounce my Nazism.
Yeah.
Don't hit me.
Hobbit said waffles over French toast over pancakes. # food culture crisis.
oh, Ian.
Waffles aren't on top. French toast is always on top.
You
Always
got a
Fren-
waffle maker down there.
Are you French toast waffles?
I mean, not pancakes. We talked about this
Yes.
last time
Okay.
too. Waffle. It depends on how you make them. If you have like a nice almond flour, a little bit of egg, I think a waffle. But then at that point, French toast is so absorbent. I like the
Yes.
French. I'm going French
Yes.
toast all the way.
Always French toast,
French
baby.
toast.
So Ian and I share the same ranking. It's French
French.
toast, waffles, then pancakes.
I'm looking forward to using that waffle maker.
Yeah.
I just want to do something healthy.
French
I don't wanna eat
toast,
wheat.
pancakes, waffles for me. And then I have no crepes on that list because I don't think I've ever
Crepes
eaten
don't even
I've-
get into the competition.
I don't think I've ever eaten a crepe.
They're
in my
not even
entire
in the
life.
running.
Dude, I'm looking at the first episode of Captain America. Is this the first appearance? March #1, Captain America. He's punching Hitler on the front, on the cover. And there's a swastika on Hitler's arm on the cover of Captain America's swastika. Cool. 1941.
There's
He's
also-
punching Hitler on the cover. That's awesome.
There's a fairly recent run of of Super America called Superman vs. the Klan.
Really?
That's a real thing.
That's funny.
It was if I remember correctly, the original was more nuanced than you'd think, but
Maybe
I
that's what
think they
Ezra Miller saw before threatening a particular chapter of the KKK.
So maybe we can have like Batman punches Stalin in the face.
Dude,
or-
Indiana Jones fought
Yeah.
Nazis
Yeah.
too.
that
was-
would be actually subversive for
It-
one of them to punch Stalin.
or
these
like
days.
or go into like or like the Flash goes back in time and takes on Mao and the Cultural
It'd be
Revolution.
Putin right now if they start
Yeah.
doing that kind of propaganda. It'd be them fighting Putin.
Probably.
So funny. He'll be riding a bear, and they'll be like, oh, they'll have lasers
It's
and stuff.
crazy how like because I felt like the beauty of skating is like you know people from all over the world, right? And I have friends in the Ukraine that skate. I have friends in Russia that skate, and it's so weird looking at their pages because the friends that I have that skate in Russia, you wouldn't know that any of this is going on. They don't care about it. I would have to assume that by their lack of posting about it that they're not interested in invading another country, right? They have no interest in that. They're just out skating and doing their thing. But the people from the Ukraine that skate, it's happening to them. So you're seeing a lot of posts about it. It's very interesting to like, because I was worried after that happened that people would shun because the skating community is so close. I was worried that they were going to shun the skaters from Russia, and that's not what happened.
That's
thankfully.
wild. Yeah, the people, man. It's just about land, controlling land, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
The people don't want it.
James Riley said, "Pardon me, do you have any Grey Poupon?"
That's a
PCC rocks.
Wayne's World.
Does this just wait? Excuse me. Do you have any Grey Poupon?
Yeah, and that's from a commercial, a very popular commercial.
Back in the
80s.
day.
Was it in the 80s?
I was never rich enough for Grey Poupon.
No, me neither. It's gourmet.
Got to have a driver for that.
Fiend V, I'm going to say this one slowly, said, "All hail the new Sofa King Hugh Janus."
Yanis.
Janus.
Yanis. Tommy B said, "Had to change my name to Tommy B after Ian made it stick. Love you, Ian. Keep up the amazing work."
Tommy B. What did I make stick?
I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Tell me more, Tommy.
Elaborate. Waffle Sensei said, "Ian, I relinquish all rights to the idea if you call your show Cooking with Crossland."
Okay, you
That's
said it.
good.
Thank you.
You can send that one to pitches@timcast.com.
Yeah. Known Undesirable said, "I've been enjoying that new smaller show Timcast, but that chat is truly ask answer. Not like the good folks here. What up, Ian?"
Well,
What up?
We kind of gave Ian his start
over at Timcast.
yeah,
we're very
over at
proud
Timcast.
that
first role.
that Tim he's got a career in front of him if he keeps it up.
Oh yeah.
He's got a lot
He's
of
a star.
potential.
He's got a lot of
A lot
potential,
of
man. He's got the brains, he's got the looks, he's got the personality. They could go
Yeah.
far.
You
if
know
they
he's a
just,
star in the
yeah.
making.
Yeah, when we discovered him, we knew he was the right one to choose for that role.
Ugh. Well,
I remember we had him on that beanbag that first day, asking him.
We had him try on different beanies and twirl around for
I
us.
like that.
tastemakers we are.
Yes. I need to stop watching YouTube said to guys, semen retention can change your life.
I've heard that. Oh, was that the rest? That was the end of the super
That was the
chat?
end of it.
Yeah, they do those no fap things.
Yep. No fap November.
So
or
people are like,
or
it's
if
been
you're
8 months. I
or
feel
if
great.
you're Andrew Garfield, it's no fap 6 months for a role
Yeah.
in a movie. He was in the movie Silence.
Silence.
Right? And he played a missionary priest, right?
Yeah.
He was okay, and he
Oh.
to
That
prepare
got
for
like
the role.
persecuted in Japan and like tortured. So he played someone who was like getting hung upside down, like beaten.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really good movie.
But
and
to,
it might have worked.
To prepare for
To
the
get
role.
method?
Yeah,
He's
to
fully-
prepare
Get all
for the
method.
role, he didn't have sex for 6 months.
That's hardcore.
And I made some. Yeah. Good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. Claimed Chowder said, Batfleck is my second favorite Batman.
See, there's nothing. He's not my favorite. Like I said, he's. I love Christian Bale because that was the one. I didn't grow up with I didn't grow up with Michael Keaton. I was pretty young when Batman '89 came out. I actually love the Val Kilmer Batman. I love Batman Forever, even though the movie's patently ridiculous. I don't really care for Clooney. But I love Bale. He's my favorite. But I do think Ben Affleck is a good Batman. And I think Dane is objectively wrong for saying otherwise.
Rascal King said, the Rascal King behind the bars or the one in front of them? Ian knows what's up.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all rule.
That's some Mighty Boss Tones. I think I do. Yeah, I used to listen to that album a lot in college. A lot.
Do you like trumpets, Mary? Are you a fan of horns and trumpets?
What?
It's a staple of the ska genre.
Oh yeah, ska.
Yes. Yeah, that's
boss.
That's what Rascal King is.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's what Mighty Boss Tones are.
Yeah.
So let's save them, and then let's
right.
go on, and we will move on, and we were going to talk about men and fathers through the eyes of Lucas Black, who was an actor in Hollywood.
Yes.
He was in NCIS New Orleans. He was in Tokyo Drift, the Fast and Furious movie, which Hannah Claire will have to report on eventually. Mm-hmm. And also, fun fact, he was the kid that falls into the sinkhole at the beginning of the very first X-Files movie, X-Files Fight the Future, in 1998. He was very young at that time. So it says
he landed his first role at 11.
Yeah, so he was very, I don't know if that was his first role, but it would have been around that time.
Yeah.
So it says Lucas Black says there's an attack on men in our culture. And basically it says Fast and the Furious alum gives dads their due in Pure Flix original legacy peak. Now you look this up.
Pure Flix has a description on YouTube that says they're a worldwide leader in selecting and streaming faith and family-friendly media that changes lives, inspires hearts, and lifts the spirits of members like you and those you love. So they're a Christian company, and they want to promote and produce Christian themes in their films.
This is really interesting. I was watching, I just happened to be watching an old episode of the show Castle last night. And in the show, there's they have their own version of a Girls Gone Wild producer. He's in multiple episodes. And in one of them, he's kind of taking on this, he's going against this guy who runs a conservative media company. And neither of them is really portrayed as the good guy or the bad guy, because the one guy's kind of sleazy, but he doesn't end up being the one who commits the crime at the end, and the other guy's very clearly seen as domineering and a bit of a moralist, but in general loves his daughter, who apparently got involved with this guy and didn't know who he was. And it was very interesting the way they worked the things in together. And I thought it was very funny because nowadays I would almost guarantee you that somehow the Girls Gone Wild guy would be the good guy. And the guy who's just the guy started his own media company because he believed in family entertainment and religion. He would be the bad guy now. They wouldn't be able to paint it as a very even keel thing.
If anything, they would both be bad guys, but the one with the conservative media company would be framed as worse, but behind closed doors.
Because he's hypocritical.
Yeah.
Yep. And oddly enough, in that episode, if I remember correctly, it's not that, but it is that the girl has a dad who is like that, but she's not distant from him, but they clearly don't agree on stuff. It was weirdly nuanced for such a topic that I feel wouldn't be given the nuance now.
No, it wouldn't.
But he says, when I was a child, I was still disciplined. I was told no on some of the things I wanted. I was raised right, says Black, who went on to star in the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, as well as 2 NCIS shows. Now Black is making movies that could help other fathers make similar choices. He walked away from that show, from NCIS New Orleans, mid 6th or 7th season. So he clearly
that must be mind numbing.
To do the same thing,
to do network television,
over and
play
over,
the same character all the time
for 6 seasons. And those that's not these 8-episode miniseries. Those are 22 to 24 episodes a year. And he was called number 2, so he was second top billing, which means he's in it a lot.
Oh yeah, he's probably called it probably 6
a.m. every day, and
till
as
5
you would
or
know,
6.
they're working. I remember Stephen Amell would say that it was like 18 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Man, he's banking because after 12, you start to get double time. They call it golden hour, golden time.
Oh.
You get time and a half after 8 hours, and then after 12 hours, you get double time.
So like if maybe he's not, because in that show Scott Bakula was the lead, so he might be getting the most of that. But if they're working 12 to 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, he's got money. So he can afford.
I think that would easily lead to burnout, and it would lead him to be disillusioned with the industry.
Yeah.
And I think that his platform, producing a film with this parallel economy media company,
which is where we're going, which is where we're heading now. And what I really do believe is that we've got about 15 to 20 years of like it's pure flicks and Daily Wire movie. Like it's
conservative media is ghettoized, and it's going to stay ghettoized.
It's going to take
until basically the money is there for it.
And what do you mean ghettoized?
Well, they don't have the same resources that mainstream entertainment has, and they also don't have the same scope of like perspective of what can be mainstream.
Or even think of it this way: the actors that are going to be involved in it are going to be of two tiers. So you're going to have the Lucas Blacks or the Mel Gibsons,
the defectors,
who have made their money and can afford to be part of these projects. The other actors are going to be no names who are so hungry that they will take any role that they can get.
Yeah, are they union? Or is like Daily Wire doing union?
I don't know if Daily Wire is doing union, but I'm sure that this was still a union project. But the point is, they're filling a need, right? And right now, that need is growing. But I think that they're going in the wrong direction, making it more like I think it should be less about faith based and more about traditional entertainment. If we could pull the Overton window back to where entertainment was in the 90s, right? So
we can't show Legacy Peaks trailer.
We cannot show the trailer
for copyright reasons, but we watched it, and it was cheesy. Like, it feels preachy. It showed multiple scenes in the movie where this stepdad to be is in prayer alone, in prayer with his girlfriend's children. I believe his girlfriend is supposed to be like a widow.
And what I said to Mary, I said they need to hire Mary as a Gen Z member that is also
someone
very
who's cynical
religious,
enough.
who's cynical, to kind of balance it out, right? So you can have somebody who's religious, and you can have the tenets of faith in the movie, but it can't be the entirety of the project, because it's going to push even somebody like me who is desperate for like seeing a movie where men aren't treated like absolute garbage.
I think Star Wars, the originals, was a great example of spirituality without you don't need to shove religion. It doesn't have to be about a church, but like God's energy is the force, essentially.
I'm not even saying you can't have religion. I'm saying it has to be done deftly and it has to be sprinkled in on top of a good story. It can't be the all-encompassing nature of the story with a little bit of regular entertainment thrown on top. It needs to be an extra part of it. It can't be the majority.
What I made sure to remember from what you said before the show started is it seems like Pure Flix and these parallel economy, Christian conservative type media companies, they are using religion as a vehicle for stories to deliver their messaging, rather than writing quality human stories with religious themes that can resonate with a mainstream audience. So they don't have the same resources and investment as mainstream entertainment because it's niche. It requires big names in Hollywood to defect and personally invest huge amounts of money into films like this, like Father Stu.
Daily Wire is going there, but even them, like, I caution them against getting involved in any type of religious themed movie unless it's done very, very, very well right now.
Yeah, like Terror on the Prairie, there was a lot of hype for that movie. I haven't seen it myself, but some people said that it just wasn't up to par with the quality of mainstream films right now.
And
I don't know if that's true or not, but that you need to take extra precautions against that when you don't have the same resources and you don't have the same funding and platforming that other films have.
And what we need right now is people to to move whole hog into these realms, right? Like when Eric DeJuly started making his comic, his main point was like, you need to stop looking at these major companies as the arbiters of what is or isn't cool. You have to stop looking for them for validation. They need to stop looking at Hollywood as the bar and start making their own things. And inherently, you become cooler when you stop caring what the other person is doing.
Yeah.
It will show through in the work. Right now, it feels like a lot of it is reactionary. Look at us, we're not Hollywood. Instead, it's got to just be, look at us, we're cool. And then people will realize that this isn't Hollywood.
Like the coolest Christian would be like, Satan's a badass. And like, there's no freak out because you're cool. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter. Get over it. It's all a joke anyway. Everything. It's all fake. You know, we're lucky to be alive and we still have to kill and eat. Like, wake up. Like, that's how you make cool movies. It's okay to say stuff you don't believe in. It's okay to make fun of stuff, even the things you believe the most. It's okay.
Well, people have to be open to like taking criticism, making jokes, and stuff like that, and that's hard.
Showing
in Hollywood
things
now.
realistically, and not in an idealized, corny cornball tone.
And
like that's what Legacy Peak might be. Like based on the trailer, that's the vibe I got from it, and
but
it's not something that could be mainstreamed.
Yeah, but you could do this without the religious elements and just make it a story that's positive to the concept of fathers, fatherhood, and raising children as a man.
Yeah, and
that's
like,
not inherently religious. That's just something.
Countercultural themes, like just having a movie that is countercultural right now is not enough for that movie to actually be good.
Exactly,
and for it to resonate with people and have a lasting effect on the cultural zeitgeist.
So I'm going to read his quote here, his other quote here. So he says, "I've come to realize that there's an attack on the nuclear family, an attack on men in our culture," says Black, who landed his first film role at 11 and filters down from entertainment. Black's character struggles with his own family ties, which makes the film's themes even more vital as he sees it. And if Hollywood won't create movies with these themes, others will. Pureflix produced Legacy Peak, part of the Christian platform's original film lineup. "We need to have a strategy and plan to combat the negative messages about fathers and men," he said. "If that means going around the traditional Hollywood gatekeepers, so be it." That is not easy. That has to be done very, very carefully and with a lot of...
It's awkward.
Exactly. Like,
it's awkward
it can't
because
feel
this
like messaging. This
sentiment of being antagonistic towards masculinity and towards fatherhood is something... It's like the cultural water we all drink. Even if you are ideologically opposed to that, it's going to be awkward to make entertainment that counteracts that sentiment. It's gonna be awkward unless you take every precaution to avoid making it the sole focus of the story.
Yep.
So, like when I see A Father Stew, that had the right funding and it had the right soul to it, and it showed things that aren't okay to show usually in the Hallmark styled Christian movies.
Think
like
Candace Cameron Bure.
Has its place, like wholesome, cheesy
Hallmark
type movies. They have their place,
and even they're kind of outcasts to that. There was an article today that said like it only took till 2022 for Hallmark to make its first LGBTQIA movie. You're always the outsider in Hollywood unless you're right on message. So
and on time, perfectly in lockstep with the rest of the industry.
You can't win.
Right.
The more movies about like psychedelic consciousness have to start getting made because God energy is like if you look at telescopes and at the universe, you see like the shape of neural pathways. Like the consciousness is obviously fractally.
Even something that obscure might be good just because it's so not part of the general discussion we're having. So make it more far out.
Like sci-fi. Yeah. If you want to make good religious content, make it sci-fi.
Yeah.
Do you think anything recently has accomplished that?
They tried to do that.
Star Trek Next Generation was all right. What were you going to say?
Oh, I'm trying to think of like they tried to have like visual themes like that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh, but it was so off the mark.
Yeah, it was so corporate.
It felt so disjointed. Like it just doesn't feel human.
Yeah. I haven't watched any movies that have been like that lately, but I've had some fairly good. Like I said, I watched a movie called All the Old Knives the other day, which is a spy thriller, which was very, very timeless in the way it was produced. Felt like it could have been made 10 years ago, could have been made 15 years ago. It was just a really good story with very little in the way of modern Hollywood in its messaging.
Sci-fi has just been so corrupted in, like, I don't know if it can be recovered that
can't.
easily. Like, it's especially targeted with messaging. Like, Star Wars has been, like, molested with social messaging.
What I've pointed out, I said that
It's awful.
if you want to watch things without messaging in it, look for the genres that Hollywood doesn't think are culturally important.
Right.
So spy thrillers, military dramas are for the most part left alone because Hollywood does not feel that they're reaching the next
period
generation.
pieces too.
And even period pieces, I think, get because of revisionist history.
Yeah.
So a lot of these ones where the genre is parsed out and has its audience already, and Hollywood doesn't want that audience, meaning like they don't care if they get the middle America dad watching. Trying to figure out Amazon Prime on his like Roku that his kid set up. Like they don't care about that audience. They want the kids like sci-fi, the kids like superheroes. Those are the ones that are going to get chocked full of messaging, chocked full of Hollywood's idea of what the world should be. So if you're looking for other for something that's outside of that realm, you have to go away from the genres that we loved.
Except
up,
there are,
unfortunately.
like, I think of A Quiet Place. That's sci-fi, or at least sci-fi adjacent. It is an
Sci-fi
alien-esque. That is essentially an alien invasion of Earth.
Yeah.
Like, that is the foundation for the plot. And it portrays fatherhood in an extremely positive light and shows a masculine man sacrificing himself for his family. Like, I loved that movie, and that was an incredibly popular movie for mainstream audiences, not just the ghetto of conservative entertainment that I think PureFlix is courting.
And there's other like there's movies that are so far off. Like I watched Sicario again the other night. This is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that came out in 2015 and spoke of the horrors of the war on drugs and cartels and stuff like that. And stuff like that is almost unapologetic in its portrayal of all people being kind of. Everyone comes out looking worse in a movie like that in a lot of ways. Emily Blunt's character kind of goes into the movie naive and leaves jaded and cynical to the world around her. And everybody else is portrayed in a negative way. But that's not really, like you said, that's got nothing to do with men or masculinity. It's got more to do with government and masculinity and kind of how men run the military-industrial complex in the drug war. But you have to get away from sci-fi if you want to find these things right now. And oddly enough, if they want to get into this realm, they're going to have to find a way to do sci-fi and counter that narrative.
Eventually, yes.
That, like,
yeah.
What did Daily Wire? They did the Hyperions, which was a superhero movie, I believe that they produced, or at least they licensed. Mm-hmm. So they're going to have to do their own stuff in that realm, and they're going to have to get very creative because, as you know, with sci-fi or with superheroes, those live and die on IP that have existed for 75 years.
Yeah, and we are on the precipice. I mean, there's so much new technology. If you start reading like technology blogs, the way that they're producing matter out of the vacuum by like the Casimir, they're compressing the vacuum and creating like, dude, there's so much potential. You need more religion. You need more God, less religion in sci-fi, and it's going to be hot.
Well, I'm not even just in sci-fi, but just in general, I would like to see movies find a way back to where they were in the 90s, but I just don't know if that's actually possible to do.
I don't know. It's a different market. It's possible. Of course, it's possible. But like, in what way? What would you want to see?
Okay, how about this? I want to see. It's impossible, but I would like to see them release movies and I want the actors to not give interviews about so they can't say something stupid. That annoys.
Ruins so many movies.
Yes,
and they also make the press about films these days concern the actors' feelings about filming it.
Yeah.
Their feelings about their characters,
And
their feelings about how it all looked, and their feelings about their career trajectory.
And then the actor waxes poetic.
How do you talk about the movie then?
Yeah.
That's a
they
good
never
point.
get to the point.
The reality TV show aspect of the behind the scenes stuff is kind of tearing the magic of the film apart.
And most of the time, my annoyance with these things is less to do with the movie, and it's almost always to do with the actor saying something stupid. That's usually a loaded question from an interviewer that's just looking for a soundbite.
It's two-sided, yeah.
Like, you lose on every level. Like, I think they think they're helping their movies by doing these press junkets, and they're doing nothing but hurting things for themselves.
That's kind of the mystique of the rock stars, that after the show, they disappear.
Where do they go?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, social media in general hurts that aspect of Hollywood because they're part of the machine. They don't need social media to be big. Your average YouTuber could use social media to bolster their platform. But do I really need to know what John Krasinski does in his free time? No, I do not. I don't want to know what John Krasinski does in his free time. I just want to watch his movies and like the movies.
I like seeing behind the scenes footage of them on set, like goofing around, like they did a lot of Lord of the Rings behind the scenes with Viggo Mortensen, just tearing it up back there. What a beautiful human he is.
I do love horror movie behind the I loved all the horror movie behind the scenes back because it's so different from the actual tone of the movie that it's funny to watch them. Like there was like somebody did like a supercut at one point of like in the Scream franchise, like when he's like chasing after people and it's like him tripping on the costume because the way that the robes hang down, so he'd be falling. Like I like stuff like that because it's so different from the actual movie.
It lets you know ahead of time what it's going to be like when you start making movies.
Yep.
Let's go to Super Chats. Claimed Chowder said, Ian, what is 624?
That's a movie. That's a working title for a film that's in pre-production, that's been in pre-production for about 5 years, that I've got the script for, and it's awesome. And we've just been looking for time to shoot the thing. So I would really, really like to make this movie, actually. It's really good.
Have you revealed much about it?
No, nothing. It's on my
you're
IMDb
not going
page.
to?
No, not until we start shooting
All
at
right.
the very least.
Bobcat said, on the bright side, at least Hollywood stopped feeding their stars a diet of meth and then cutting their pay from having to go to the hospital. I mean, they used to drug up movie stars really badly.
I was thinking back to, I watched a documentary on like when it was when a lot of it was barbiturates. You know, that was Marilyn Monroe, and a lot of that was barbiturate use, which is a lot less common nowadays than it used to be. And man, they were just zonked out of their mind. It was the good old days of Hollywood when you just took your what was the big one back in the day? Not Seroquel. Seroquel's an antipsychotic, right?
Yeah.
What was the big one that they took back in the day?
Klonopin?
Quaaludes. No, Klonopin's a recent thing.
Yeah.
Klonopin's awful.
Waffle Sensei.
Don't recommend.
Yeah. Solid do not recommend from Brett Dasovic. Thank you. Waffle Sensei said, well, now that Brett had admitted he loves his blonde hair, all I can say is, you're welcome, sir.
That is fake news. I said I've come to like it. I did not say
You admitted to us that you had a pack of women in person complimenting your hair.
Yes,
that's hot.
I went to I went to like, when I went to like the doctor like that Monday, like
It contrasts your persona in a way that's very interesting.
Because you're so stout in spirit.
Yes.
But you've been given this flashy addition to your appearance.
It is I've actually changed my mind. I want it to stay this color though. I don't want it lighter than this. I'm fine with this
It looks
color.
good like this.
It's almost red. Kind of taking on a reddish tone.
I can help stop
It's
the
a
ginger
strawberry
side.
blonde.
Yeah. I can help stop the ginger side.
Single-handedly.
I will work.
One strand of hair at a time.
Bad App said, if we were in House of the Dragon and Mary was my bleach blonde twin sister, I'd ship and slay.
Well, who wouldn't, apparently, in House of the Dragon, given that that's all they...
You're lucky I read that.
I will be fair. Like, somebody pointed out the other day, they said, you guys seem more obsessed with, like, what's going on in House with those scenes than they are in the show, than fans of the show. But that's because, like, to me... It's like, I do find it weird how Hollywood keeps encroaching these subjects further and further. But also, to be fair, the books included that material. But you have to wonder, did Hollywood choose this to adapt because it was in the books? Or was it just so happened to be there and then Hollywood found out that it was a way to push these ideas further into the cultural consciousness? I don't know.
And we're also talking about the thought they put into it for months beforehand. And it may seem like we're obsessed with something, but I mean, how obsessed
Thank
are
you.
we if it is our job
Yeah.
to look at the coverage of all of these things every single day in depth?
And it does get to be like Jessica was talking. We were talking one day. She's like, I don't envy your job because like so much of it is just reading the stuff that it's just kind of breaks your heart. Like the way
Yeah.
the way you see culture going and the way Hollywood is like. I actually asked Mary today. I was like, could you find some more stuff from like TikTok? Like I was like, there's a certain point where I feel like I'm reaching,
internet trends,
yeah, like,
online culture.
I feel like I'm reaching my limit at certain points. And this is why I can't, like, why I would never be able to do IRL every day, because I hear those stories and I just get sad. And I get like, I'm not stoic enough to be able to do that every day without it affecting my personality or my mood.
Oh yeah, I want to bring in positive, uplifting feelings at the very least.
Like you're kind of like one of your most important roles is to be able to lend some perspective on subjects that may not feel like they haven't.
Winston Churchill, when they were getting bombed during World War II, London was getting bombed. I mean, they thought no one knew if they were going to win or lose the war, be conquered by Germany, slaughtered. But Winston Churchill would tell them, "We will win." Like that was he would give them hope.
Yeah.
He didn't know, but he would say it anyway.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
kind of the key.
See,
As critics, do you guys ever like grab stuff and be like, "This is awesome," and this is why?
Yeah, often.
Because that's
If
like Siskel and Ebert.
If we review something
Thank
and
you.
we genuinely like it, we'll say so. And Top Gun Maverick was a perfect example of that.
even I've been more forgiving of Lord of the Rings than 90% of the reviewers, just by virtue
I have
of
too,
it.
and
Yeah.
I dislike it at this
Like,
point.
I don't even like it, but it's like, it's not awful. It's just kind of bad. And you're
It's serviceable.
we
mostly.
I gave Sonic a good review. I thought Sonic was quite good. Most of the movies, I
Thank
feel
you,
we
guys.
liked Father Stew a lot.
I
right?
loved that
Well,
one. I loved it.
It's kind of like how critical do you get? Because I feel like if you get super critical, you can insult almost anything. You can
Yes.
find something from everything that's a problem.
And we're not even necessarily talking about the reviews. We're talking more about the general news in the industry. Like that's the stuff that's really like, for instance, there was a topic today that I was literally like, I was making a dark humor about. There was an actor who like he killed his own mother, and I was like, this is awful, but I don't want to, like, we're not going to make
He was on Riverdale.
Yeah, he was an actor on Riverdale, and he was like, can we even say that on air?
He seemingly had a psychotic break.
And he ended his
and
mother's
he murdered
life.
his mother.
And then he was like, he put a bunch of weapons in a car and like planned to take out Justin Trudeau. And it was so shocking to me, but like, we're not going to cover that as a topic because it's just too depressing.
Yeah, just because he's an actor doesn't mean that has to be
Exactly.
anything related to an entertainment show about acting.
Mary
culture.
Mary is very good at pulling me back from the brink on subjects that sometimes I get a little morbid and like, I'm like, I think we should cover this. She's like, should we really though?
It's not even you getting morbid. It's just like sometimes celebrities do morbid things because they have like reptilian brains.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and that being that famous can break people's minds
Yeah.
if they don't have a good group of friends or a solid family life.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's like it's finding
have
the
to be
balance
discerning.
between like you do want to do subjects that you find informative. I think like talking about Lucas Black and families and the importance of having roles about fathers in Hollywood. That's a good realm to be in. That's not inherently depressing on its face, right? So you have to find a middle ground somewhere.
Yeah. Bobcat said, I still think it would be cool if you could do book reviews. Speaking of which, Alexa, order Tales from the Inverted World.
I
don't think book reviews would be in our purview.
we would have to. I mean, that would be a great separate show. I think Hannah Claire would be a fantastic book reviewer. Like, it feels like something where she like would like do it in her spare time and not tell anyone about it. Like, she probably like has reviews for books that she does that she could.
They're
do.
all ready, but
Yeah.
she doesn't put any of them
Yeah.
out.
I was wondering last night when you guys think of pop culture, like what do you think of as pop culture?
That change for me. That's the entertainment industry.
Like
That's,
sports?
we don't
We
do
don't
sports.
cover sports.
It is oddly though. It is pop culture, but that falls into the realm of being so big that it has its own.
Just like anime or manga. We
Yeah.
don't cover topics about anime or manga, but it's almost because and for the most part not video games unless
Yeah.
we have a guest on who's knowledgeable about some particular video game topic.
Well, I do. Just in case you ever want to
Yeah.
talk about video games,
Yeah.
that's my bread and butter.
But,
That's
like,
my favorite piece of
those-
pop.
those parts of pop culture I think are like they have dedicated fan bases of their own, like in their own right. So we can't exactly tap into that if we are not as knowledgeable.
I will say that did you see that the GoldenEye remake is finally a go? They're putting it out on a Nintendo Switch.
No. Oh, they're putting other stuff out. They're putting Tactics Ogre out too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fantastic tactics game.
I asked my dad to mail me my N64 with my copy of GoldenEye.
It's so slow if you play it now. Looking back, all the games now are fast.
They're so fast. Yeah. Like
that game is real slow.
I love it.
It was like a learning process for the human brain. You can see the growth of the speed of the human perception with the video games throughout time.
Well, they say that like hand-eye coordination is one of the big things that is improved with people that play video games. Is they have tremendous hand-eye coordination because of how fast they have to be able to see things on screen.
And our technology, instead of surgery, I mean, people are doing surgery on a computer.
Yep.
People are flying drones on a computer instead of being in the like a lot of this is synergistic.
Yep.
Yeah. I was at a nail salon actually, and I heard this advertisement on the radio station they had playing, and it was like, the metaverse is about to change the world of medicine because medical students will get to perform a surgery thousands of times in the metaverse before they ever practice it on a real patient.
But that's like saying like all of the people who became fighter pilots, like you can do all of the simulated training you want. It doesn't matter once you actually go up.
Exactly.
Especially G-forces once you get those.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Nathan Klein said, Brett, check your Instagram DM when blonde grows out.
Ooh, is that like somebody who can dye my hair for me and upkeep?
You're already in love
level.
with the idea.
Yes.
Bad App said, Carter says hi, listen to Polyphia, all bangers. I've heard a few songs of theirs actually, and I thought they were pretty good.
I've never heard of them.
Carter says hi. Are you guys like best friends now? Okay.
Maybe Carter's in the chat.
Carter Banks.
Maybe. Hobbit said, chaffles are great. Literally egg and cheese mixed up and cooked on a waffle iron. Comes out crispy. Maybe add some salt and pepper and enjoy.
Is that
and
what it's called?
That sounds
chaffles,
good.
yeah.
An egg on a waffle iron. I love it. I'm just going to do a straight up egg with some salt.
It could be done right, but I still am always going to enjoy the traditional waffles myself.
I saw the corrected one down there. I'm like,
yeah,
how did you get chaffles? I was like, how the hell did you get chaffles from chaffs or whatever it was?
I gotta know, was Sensei always
Chaffies.
Waffles Sensei?
Waffles was always
See,
waffles.
chaffles
Was he-
sensei when he goes keto.
Chaffee?
Chaffles sensei.
Chaffles, that's egg and what is it?
cheese.
Egg and cheese. That
And
sounds
you
good.
Just make it into a waffle shape.
He should change his name to Chaffles Sensei.
Chaffles for a day.
Bobby said, happy Friday, y'all. Brett, Superman has to take down the clan of the Fiery Cross.
Yep.
The radio show is on YouTube if anyone wants to pseudo time travel. Wayne's World reference.
That's diddly-doo, diddly-doo, diddly-doo. But yeah, that's I haven't heard the radio show, but perhaps I will. I know that I one of the things is like wrestling, I read a lot of like reviews or listen to a lot of reviews of comics now, but I just don't have it in me to collect and follow the industry. But I love listening to people whose work that I like. It kind of speaks like what we were talking about, authenticity on YouTube, right? Like these people that I'll never know or meet in the real world, and I just trust their opinion on comics because they happen to have a personality on like a channel that I like.
Dude, I'm the same with video games. I find that sometimes I watch more video gameplay footage than I do actually game.
Yeah.
And the people that I watch, like Amaz, what's up, dude? Pixelated Apollo, you got my number, bro. Love these guys.
Like that's becoming like its own economy of entertainment. Like not just doing the thing, but watching other people or hearing other people talk about that.
Because they're better than me, and then I get better by watching them. I can be as if I am them, learning like, oh, you swing the blade that way. I see you play that card in that situation. I get it.
Yeah.
Tommy B said, Ian, my name was Thomas B, and you called me Tommy B.
Tommy B.
You abbreviated
changed his
it.
life forever.
Pardon me, Thomas. T-Bone.
Now he's going to change to T-Bone.
He's totally going to change
brother.
to T-Bone
Yeah.
now.
Shards of Narsil said, pressure starts to build after...
Do you want to read that one?
I don't know if I want to read that. Why is this on Pop Culture Crisis? You should bring this to IRL, and they would have to read
that
it.
feels like an IRL comment to me.
Does IRL talk about semen retention?
No, but
More
I'm
likely
about
than
to.
not.
That's the
Bring it
leading
up.
story
You're about to.
tonight.
You're gonna be like,
Get
well,
ready for tonight,
you're gonna
because
be like,
that's
well,
what you're
hold
gonna
on.
have to be covering.
earlier today on Pop Culture Crisis, we were talking about semen retention.
Yeah, like,
I'll bring it up to Tim
and
later.
Tim will be like, what the f
and then
are they
just,
talking about?
Just push the topic until everyone has to participate.
I'll find a really
That'll
good
be
story
great.
about it. Yeah.
They're gonna be like, today, Putin did this. Well, that reminds me of earlier when we were talking about semen retention.
You know, the
on Pop
soldiers-
Over on
Culture,
Pop Culture Crisis,
Yeah.
you know, the pop culture related show.
where they talk about semen retention.
Yeah. Bobcat said, if you pick the right setting, you can make a pop movie with religious themes. Take the 1527 sack of Rome, for example.
Okay.
Oh yeah, a lot of historical stuff could have the religious themes without being overtly religious.
I'm trying to think of like movies that like I can't think of any off the top of my head that like I really love. Like I love Father Stu, but that's so recent. Like I can't think of any.
That has a
Movies with
religious
religious themes?
Like
or?
religion. Like I mean I saw Passion of the Christ, but I had no like deep.
A lot
connection
of
to it.
Christians don't even like Passion of the Christ for other reasons.
I love the movie because I love that Mel Gibson like was willing to like throw his career away because he wanted to make the movie. I love that Jim Caviezel was so dedicated to and is to this day like he doesn't get roles anymore because he's
which is ridiculous
he's,
that you can be blacklisted for something like that.
he and not just because he was the lead actor in my favorite show of all time, Person of Interest, but in that movie basically what happened was like before, when they were going to started filming it, like basically Mel Gibson calls Jim Caviezel and says, "Hey, want to ruin your career with me?" And he goes, "Sure, why not?" And then they did that. They made the movie. Took Mel Gibson a while. He rebuilt his career afterward. Caviezel didn't really ever get back to his. He was on an upward trajectory with that movie, right? He was in Frequency. He was in a lot of like. He was becoming a movie star, and then he kind of a lot of people wanted him for Batman at a certain point. And then he kind of leveled off because he was in that movie. And then now, because they're making the sequel, did you see that? That they're making the sequel to Passion of the Christ?
Still
yeah,
passionate.
which
And-
I don't want.
What's it about?
I don't even.
I suppose things that happened after the resurrection.
Oh, that'd be
Passion of
cool.
the Christ 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Yeah. Is it about like the disciples? That might be cool. Like the rounding up of the
like
disciples.
the early church.
There was like they hunted them
history.
down in the years following. That would be an interesting movie.
So-
It is interesting, but it's also like not about Jesus anymore. That's about like church history.
Yeah,
So
that's a way to get away from the religion and still make it topical. That's cool.
I don't know.
Maybe then I want to know, did Mel Gibson call him up again and say, "Hey man, want to ruin your career again?"
I feel like by virtue of it being 2022, nothing good can be made anymore.
Feels
That's
that
why
way.
I don't want them to do it.
Yep.
That's the sole reason.
They are starting production on the new Lethal Weapon next year.
Is it the same dudes? Is
Yep.
it going to be? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, what's that going to be like?
I have no
I hope
idea.
they don't do what Bill and Ted did and make it about their daughters, because Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 3 could have been about Bill and Ted. They should have made it about Bill and
Well,
Ted.
plus, it was in the original. Weren't they boys? And they definitely gave birth to boys, or they gave birth. They had boys in the previous ones, and then they changed it to girls. They retconned it and made them daughters.
Wait, I didn't know they had boys.
I think they had boys
in the first two movies, they didn't have kids.
But didn't they have at the end? Like,
Oh, you might be right. At the end of the second one,
that could be fake news on my part, guys. Somebody might have to correct me.
Interesting.
But I thought somebody said that they had boys, and then they retconned it for girls because it's 2022 and girl boss.
huh? Yeah, I was sad because Keanu Reeves. I want to see Alex and Keanu.
Also, he should never shave. He looks so young with his facial hair, and he does not look young when he shaves. Keanu.
Not one awesome guy.
Well, then there's Ralph Macchio, who looks like 30, and he's like almost 60 now. The guy from Karate Kid.
Yeah, like they see you young, they want you to stay young.
Louis P. said, I disagree. I think there is a large audience of recently religious people, like myself, I admit, that are looking for uplifting religious content. Left-wing media sucks, but it doesn't mean the right wing is better by default.
Nope.
I got a question though for you. Who was that left that super?
Oh, I'm sorry.
those
The
were two
last
super chats.
Sorry, the last sentence was someone else's. But I don't think that there's not an audience for religious content. I think it just needs to be done right, and often it's not.
Well, yeah. My question to who left that comment about the religious content? Who was that?
Louis P.
Louis is. Would you rather have uplifting content that's not religious or depressing content that is religious?
That's
Because
a
it
good
might
question.
just be the uplifting thing you're looking for.
Yep.
Possibly.
Well,
I mean, both can be done both ways.
And there's a certain amount of like, I think if you're watching this show and you're like, or if you're part of Timcast, like you're inherently aware, like when you watch Hollywood stuff involving Christianity, you know there's a disdain for it when they do that stuff. Like, you know that it's very surface level when Hollywood creates anything that has a certain amount that focuses on Christianity. It's either negative or it's done almost in jest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also one, you missed one up there from Bad App. It says, what's your opinion on Hallmark Christmas movies?
Oh, I don't think I've watched
I don't watch them.
any.
What's an
It's
example?
not really my thing.
Not my thing.
I don't think I've seen one.
Me and you are definitely not the target demographic there.
I am, but
She is.
I haven't seen any.
Is Hallmark like a production company?
Yeah, it's the Hallmark
Yes.
channel has their own. There's some really funny. Who's the YouTuber that Max the Very Good Boy, who's like he's an Instagrammer who has this channel called like on his Instagram he does this series of videos called like Hallmark movie pitches. It is the funny because they're all essentially the same.
They follow a blueprint. It's
Yes.
like wholesome rom-com where a single woman moves to a new town, and
They always move to a small town.
they always move to a small town, right? And then they meet this hot lumberjack guy.
or he's a lawyer.
They
who-
have to
who-
rethink their priorities in life,
Yep.
and it's just like,
They got to do a thing
Yeah.
where a guy goes in like a Hallmark store with lit candles, and then he gets irradiated and becomes like a wax man.
They
That'd
could
be
do
great.
that. Hallmark
Whoa.
sci-fi.
Yeah.
Hallmark sci-fi would be
The
interesting.
genre's ripe.
Let's save him. Let's go to
Okay.
Podluck, and then we will continue at the end. So here we go, guys.
I guess it's time
It's
to talk
time.
about Rings of Power, episode 5.
Are you ready?
Regrettably.
Go for it, Mary. How do you feel about it?
I think this one I've liked or tolerated the least so far of all of them. It's been a steady decline since the premiere episodes.
It's getting to the point
That
where
this was like a 3 out of 10.
it's getting to a point where it's like, can we get going already?
Yes. All they do in this show is verbally argue with each other, give each other displeased looks, and nothing actually moves the plot along. And silly me for thinking that any of the cast members we saw promoted before this show came out
Would be
would
important.
interact
Yeah.
on the show.
No, they're all
It feels
part
like
of
I'm
different
watching
groups.
like 7 different series that are completely unrelated.
The-
When are they even going to cross paths?
The biggest problem this show has is too many cast members spread out over
Yeah.
too much territory and doing absolutely nothing with them because you can only give so much time to each group so that none of the story satisfactorily progresses. By the end of this episode, nothing has changed. Like
No.
literally nothing has changed.
Like I thought at least some warfare was going to pop off in this episode, and they've just been pushing it off and pushing it off.
The only one that feels like there's any movement, or that even feels like there's a coherent idea as to what the hell they're supposed to be doing, is Arendir and Durin, which is like, it's about like the what is it? The material that they're mining underneath there, and it's about
Mithril?
saving and it's about saving his the elves or whatever. That's literally the only storyline that feels like
I don't
anything's
even
going
understand
on.
what happened there, because they're like concerned with this mineral because it will saturate the elves in the light of the Valar. What the hell does that mean? Am I stupid?
Yep.
What does that mean?
Also, I want to point out that Bronwyn is
Is hot.
yes,
Thank
but
you for that.
no, that if you're looking for somebody to give a rousing call to action, hire literally anyone but this actress.
She didn't even raise her voice. No one realistically would have heard her in a crowd of people when she's like, "Stand up, fight with me,
Fight with me, and then
Arendir is standing behind her,
Boring McBoringson is standing behind
just
her,
kind of awkwardly looking
like,
around.
He looks like somebody who like wants to be on his phone, but since phones didn't exist, he can't be on his phone all the time.
Yeah.
And so there's actually some good lines from him between him and Theo. When he talks about, he says
Yeah.
50% of the people left, and then he says, well, that means 50% of the people stayed. That was actually hit me
I don't know.
decently well. Like,
The vibe, I was just at that point I was done with the episode, like emotionally, and he was basically, trying to endear himself to Theo as his new stepdad.
and here's the problem. You should not be able to make it 5 episodes into a show that is this long and have only 3 or 4 characters have names you actually remember. I had to
Right.
look up half the character names while I'm watching the scenes again because they
And I have subtitles on.
I was like, okay, so Farazan has a very unique point where he kind of tells some information to his nephew or
that was
son,
his
son,
nephew?
whoever it is,
Son?
and he kind of comes off that he's gonna go behind Muriel's back.
Muriel, who is his cousin,
his cousin.
which we were supposed to know for some reason.
And the point is that I had to look up Farazan's name because none of these characters stand out at all.
Yeah.
We're in episode 5 now.
Do they say each other's names a lot?
Not
Not
enough.
a lot. Not enough. Yeah.
Not-
I think if we were to cut some characters from the main cast, we keep Durin, we keep Nori,
Yep.
we keep Galadriel because you have to.
You keep Arondir.
No, I don't like Arondir.
You have to keep him because he's inextricably connected to Durin. But you can get rid of Disa, even though I like her. Like she's irrelevant at this point.
And why did she take a center stage in the promotion of this show?
Because
Other than Ma representation.
That's it. Nori is great, but they're not spending enough time with that character. She's got a great amount of this very, very endearing charisma that they could be taking full advantage of by featuring her character and the entirety of the Brandyfoots and the Harfoots or whatever's that whole subplot would be much better served, more front and center.
Yeah.
Galadriel is a charisma vacuum that sucks the energy out of
I saw
literally
a little
every
bit of
scene.
emotion in her face in this episode.
Was it
when
the
she
emotion
was with
of
Halbrand?
Yes. So the actor who plays Halbrand, who is really just discount Ryan Long. They
do look alike.
He looks like Ryan Long. Is the only one who seems to be pull any sort of emotion out of her. And I want to point to this picture as the sole reason you should not watch this show. She is the smuggest, most annoying character in the entire world.
They had explosions in this episode. I thought it would make up for you, Brett. It would make up the fact that Galadriel wins in a sword fight against 5 young men at once.
It was like I'm literally picturing the scriptwriter he just scratched out an entire paragraph of dialogue and just wrote "girl boss level 1000," and then put ... swords. And it's just so. Yeah,
at least one of them won and got that lieutenant promotion.
You can kind of see a little bit of emotion starting to show on her face.
They have a will they, won't they? But all the emotion seems to be coming from Halbrand.
Yes, look at him. He's actually making a facial expression. She could be making the same facial expression here that she's making in all her scenes. And this was the other scene that I thought they did fine together. These Arondir and Theo had a little bit of because they've had conflict before. But the point here is that, especially when you see Arondir and the people that are part of his, that whole group, they all feel like discount versions of better actors. That scene in particular, where they're talking about what's going to happen if they don't get help from Durin or whatever, it felt like cosplay.
This is cosplay. It's fan fiction.
The costumes,
made real with $500 million.
The costumes look cheap. The CGI in this one somehow didn't feel as good as it did in
the nighttime scenes that showed
here she is
Elrond and who was the elf
I don't even know his
Elrond
name.
Was arguing with. Oh my gosh.
I don't even know his name.
About
He's
the Mithril.
discount Tom Hiddleston.
Okay,
That's who he is.
whoever he is, whatever. Those nighttime scenes where he was arguing with that other elf, those looked really good in my opinion. And the nighttime scene of the explosion on the ship, I thought that looked cool. But then everything in Numenor is just a beige hellscape.
Yeah.
All of it is just beige, beige, beige. It looks so bad.
And I want to point out here's Bronwyn not being commanding
at all,
and it's literally what is the opposite of a call to action? It's
the
a
next
text to action.
scene of Bronwyn is her essentially giving up, flipping her position, all just to say that they should bow down to Sauron.
Benjamin
after
Walker.
She's trying to galvanize these people to fight, the very next scene she decides that they should give up.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
And then here's the guy you were talking about, right?
Him. Who
chubby,
is he?
Chubby discount Tom Hiddleston. That's who he is.
The scene where they're talking with Durin and Durin asks how they acquired their dining table.
Yeah.
and he makes up this story about how this stone is very important in the Dwarven culture. It was so tense, and the emotion on this discount Tom Hiddleston's face was pure confusion. Like, I did not understand what any of the conversation was supposed to mean, what was the significance of any of it. And then when you find out later that Durin was lying about the table, what was the point of that scene at all?
Didn't matter.
And also, the discount Tom Hiddleston didn't answer his question as to how they acquired it. He just said, take it home.
And it all feels like they start to exposit. They start to exposition, and they say nothing without saying. They say something.
Why
without
do they
saying at all.
speak in like all euphemisms in this show and no matter of fact conversation?
It fits the tone of like what that of the
I don't
fantasy
even think
genre.
so, because I remember in the books they speak more matter of factly than any of the conversations in this show.
And here are the two. Like, here's a perfect example on screen of two characters that you could cut. And
Get
nothing
rid
would
of
be lost.
Isildur altogether. Get rid of Isildur and his annoying sister and this scrub who's trying to date his annoying sister. I don't even know their names. Who are these people, and why should I care about their stories?
Just put Nori back on screen, damn it! Just put Nori back on screen and let them and let the guy battle the what are they the wolves.
The dorgs.
The
wolves, the dorgs, and the balrogs. Which they barely brushed past.
It's Elendil.
The balrogs.
Captain Elendil, that's the character's name.
Oh, there's multiple Balrogs?
Yeah, 3 of them.
Why would the elves care whether the dwarves have dangerous mining practices? It's about the balrogs, but the balrogs weren't addressed in the previous episodes, so why were they even... Like, why is Elrond still sworn to secrecy to Durin when essentially he is admitting that the dwarves are in possession of the mithril by saying, I'm sworn to secrecy.
So he's like...
When he's outright asked about it 10 times.
It makes no sense.
On screen. We know that they are in possession of the mithril.
But at the very least, I can say that when Arondir and Durin on screen together, I like their scenes, even if I don't think the show is very good. And I do believe...
Do you mean Elrond and Durin?
What did I say?
You keep saying Arondir.
I said Elrond. Yes.
Okay.
Well, then further
forgettable.
Proof, further
equally
proof
as emotionless.
Yeah.
I would say that's why I said we should get rid of Arondir, because this show seems to think that all elves just don't have emotion, like they're all Vulcan.
That's the thing. But even good Vulcan actors have blasting emotion through their eyes, like. The guy who played Elrond in the first one, the dude from The Matrix, what's that guy? You know the guy's name? Him and Orlando Bloom.
Yeah.
They're phenomenal. They were just like about to snap the whole time. You see they're about to like flip the script. And even though the character has... doesn't mean the actor has no emotion, and the direction obviously is poor in this movie because they're not pulling the emotion out of the actors.
The guy who plays Arondir looks like he's constantly bored or
constipated or something.
Like it's in like I said, I saw a little bit of like stoic emotion out of him when he was talking to Theo.
Where is the chemistry between Arondir and Bronwyn? It
Just
simply does not exist.
Hire me. I will have all the chemistry with Bronwyn.
Yeah, you can play an elf.
I will be Arondir. If you need me, season 2, you can hire me. I will do it. Who the hell is Waldreg?
Well, you liked Waldreg in the previous episode. You said you liked his performance.
Which one is he? Oh, yeah.
When he had that short interaction with Theo at the end of episode 4.
He did the same thing. He had a similar one here, like when he was like speaking from the crowd, right? Like
he was like, "Come with us, Theo."
Yeah.
Oh, they're gonna turn him into some big deal. Probably try.
He is like a devotee of Sauron, and then he comes across Adar, who is like the prince of the orcs, mistakes him for Sauron, and then Adar makes him do a blood sacrifice to show his loyalty to him.
And it's just like they could have cut this down. Like, dude, there's seasons. Half the group now, half these groups now, the other half in season 2. Like, if you want to make it a slow roll, make it a slow roll over 3 seasons, right? So instead of doing slow and poorly developed amongst all of them in one season, leading to a conflict, you have Arondir's story and Bronwyn's story in this season with Elrond and Durin and then Nori. Actually, no, let's save Nori for season 2 because we need something good in season 2. And then do Muriel in the season. So you do 3 groups now, have another 3 groups in season 2. That way they're all given more screen time to actually build their characters. And maybe by the end of his season, Aaron Deere will actually have developed a personality. And then in season 3, you build up to whatever the hell the conflict will be.
You know, an angle they could have taken if they were smarter, and they wanted this split up cast with many different subplots.
Yeah.
They could have just done one episode dedicated to each one, or
Yes.
one episode that dedicates itself to 2.
Yeah.
But this is switching between them on a constant rotation, and I can barely keep up with what's happening.
You need them together. One of the great things about the Lord of the Rings is that they had them all together, and you would have Aragorn talking to, what's the elf's name, Orlando Bloom's character. They would be going on, and stuff would be happening, and then it would just cut to the dwarf's face. You'd see the dwarf look, and the look he makes tells you about his character, and you learn about the dwarf's character and his beliefs and his feelings about what's going on in the scene because they're together. But when they're split off, and then you have to create and waste screen time just for what you could get out of a look if you put them in the right environment.
Yeah.
The Farazan has some possibilities of being more interesting down the line because he seems to have ulterior motives for going.
I suppose.
Like maybe
but
sort
so
of.
does Adar and Waldrag.
But it felt more.
And Muriel.
But it felt like Farazan was hiding it better. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, and that actor, to be fair, has a good a unique face and screen presence. Like
I guess.
he's got
not,
a unique.
Not unique enough.
He looks like he would be like if he was clean shaven, he'd be on Succession.
What's the character's name?
Farazan.
Farazan.
With a
I'm looking at
PH?
these people. Oh, okay. I'm looking these people up as you're talking about them.
Tristan Gravel is the name of the actor. And like I like his look. And I'm granted I'm big on that. That's why I don't like Galadriel because she looks bored all the time. Bored and annoyed all the time.
It was slightly better in this episode, but then they ruined it with the sword fighting scene.
It was you guys. If you want to see something like, it'll probably be on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It'll probably be on YouTube soon. It'll just put Galadriel girl boss sword fighting scene.
I genuinely liked her with Halbrand, though.
Yes.
That's one relationship in this show that could make sense.
If they took her interactions with all the other characters away and just focused on their, if it was just them traveling the country and it was them kind of coming across different situations together and how they interacted and figured that out, that might be interesting. But it's like it feels like it's the director's job, right, to figure out which actors have the best chemistry and lean into that story the best they can, if not in pre-production and filming, then in editing.
Or the producer's job, because the director can really only do what he can with the script.
Well, what I'm saying is because actually I don't know how they're doing it here, but a lot of times directors are involved in the editing process, right? So what you need to do is find the actors that actually have good chemistry. That's they should be looking at the scenes Nori's doing with the stranger and the scenes with or even Sadak Burrows, and they find that these characters have great screen presence and lean into it and start saying, We're getting good material here. We can cut some of this extraneous garbage with Isildur and the girl that has zero chemistry with him. Cut those and lean into the characters that are giving you the best performances, but they're not doing that.
Yeah, you can kill off characters that aren't working. You're supposed to if you want a good show. I think that's
also. I really want to point out that I think Elrond's does well because that actor really does has an extremely unique look.
He does have a unique face.
His
it's
face
not one I like, but it's unique.
But it's extremely unique. So I
but
like.
The problem
him.
is that's why he got the role, not because he's good.
But I actually think I like him. I like him and Durin
right.
in the show.
I've only seen clips, but it was like yawn, yawn, yawn. Every clip I saw him was like, I'm supposed to have no emotion because I am an elf.
I'm being I'm like a prisoner of war who is just putting up.
Thank you for the scraps.
Yeah. I'm taking the best. It's the best I can get here is Durin and Elrond, and then the little bit of Galadriel. Only when.
Okay, can we address? I don't want to say all of the line because I'll get clipped for out of context.
Get clipped for out of context.
I can't say this out of context. Enough with the quail sauce. That line, if you watched it, you know what I'm talking about. Durin said something Very clippable, okay?
You should say it anyways.
Something about meat, something about
Sauce.
Giving it to
something
him.
about sauce, something about giving it to him, something about it being raw.
And this is why actors are paid the big bucks, because he managed to say that line without laughing.
Why did they include it though? Like, do you want this to have the high fantasy poetic vibe, or are you
apparently
trying
not.
to make it clippable for Twitter?
Clippable for Twitter.
Yeah.
They need at least one. Make the thing go viral. I haven't been even thinking about this show for weeks.
Well,
Yeah.
to be fair, like we were crapping on the ratings for House of the Dragon the other day, but this show is a bomb. As far as I can tell, there's no hype around it anymore. Nobody's talking about it. The only thing I see people talking about is House of the Dragon.
And they've got 3 episodes left, and nothing has happened.
And nothing's
yet.
happened. It's literally been hurry up and wait the whole time. I have my conspiracy theory, which I will now push every time we talk about the show. I believe that Jeff Bezos did not set out to make a good show. I think that he wanted them to literally create a show that was so mediocre that you'll put it on, you won't turn it off, but you'll stop paying attention and start buying stuff off Amazon Prime while you're watching
You've
it.
got to introduce a character early on that you fall in love with, that you kill off within 3 to 5 episodes. I think for a fantasy show to go well, you've got to take away something that people love to make them remember it.
Yeah, and that seems to be the angle they were going for with killing off Galadriel's brother in the pilot,
With
but
all
we
of the-
never knew Galadriel's brother.
You got
it was
all
just
of 2 minutes of time with him.
we showed up and Galadriel's brother was dead.
So then now she's this kind of closed off, emotionless warrior,
Yeah.
but you don't really have any connection as to why she is like
And
that.
neither
You
does
weren't
she.
endeared to either one of them.
And she didn't
before
act with
it
the guy,
happened.
so she doesn't have any connection to the guy. Honestly, as an actor, if you work with someone a lot for 10, 12 months or whatever, and then they're gone off the show, it's sad. And you remember them when you're acting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it feels like there's, I don't know if it's the direction, if it's the fact that they hired 2 showrunners that had literally no experience, if it's the unreachable expectations that would never have been met anyways, given the size
Yeah.
of the budget, the name that is Tolkien, and how much that means to so much of society. But there was, I think the show was doomed from the start, but we have been more than fair to most of these episodes, but I'm about done.
We're spent.
I'm about done. I'm ready for them to get to whatever the great battle is. What the hell are the rings?
Yeah, where are the rings?
Where are the rings? There's
and
no
where
rings.
is the power?
There's no power. There's no rings.
What a ripoff.
And even if there was, you did not tell the story concisely enough and properly enough for it to stick well enough in our head to matter.
Yeah.
This is on you, not on the audience.
Yeah, and we didn't even set out to dunk on them for wokeness or the marketing campaign, which was a mess either.
We have done
We've been
nothing
fair
about wokeness.
And our patience has run thin.
Very
We are
thin.
done.
Okay, you know what? I will forgive you if you cut it all off and you give me a Nori spinoff and a Bronwyn spinoff where Bronwyn does anything but shout from the high heavens for people to follow her. Turn it into a rom-com.
If she actually raised her voice, it would also make her more believable as a mom.
Yeah.
And
Get in here and do your chores now.
She just is so mousy.
It's
We've already spent too long talking
All
about
right.
this, and I'm losing my mind.
Let's move on.
Let's continue.
Let us continue to the next do you want to talk
Johnny
about
Depp.
Shameless? No, Disney. We're finishing on Johnny Depp.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to tell everyone what this is?
Well, Disney guests are sneaking in their children in strollers to avoid soaring entry fees.
Disney does not want regular people anymore. Disney only wants rich people.
Yeah, which is interesting because I've always thought of attending Disney World or Disneyland as a pedestrian activity.
I always thought
and
it was a
they're
rich
trying
person
to. Well,
my family couldn't afford to go to Disney World.
I mean, it's also about the taste of whoever wants to go to Disney World on vacation instead of going to some other destination that would be more enjoyable anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's a lowbrow consumerist destination,
Well, who was
regardless
the-
of how much it costs you to go there.
Wasn't there a famous, somebody won a sporting event and they said, what are you going to do next? I'm going to Disney World.
Oh, yeah, that used to be the big thing. At the end of the Super Bowl, they'd be
So
like, what's
funny.
next? And they'd do it a lot. I don't know if they were getting paid or what.
Going to
Maybe.
Disney World.
Or if they really did. Took their
That
families
would
to
be
Disney
great
World.
if you found out that Walt Disney
Conspiracy
paid
theory?
both teams to say that on air.
Oh,
Oh, there's so much that could be turned into funny movies if we just like if Hollywood had like half a
Please.
brain. Like I want a movie
Pureflix, make this movie.
where Walt Disney goes and he's like, hey, and he goes to whoever's winning the World Series. He goes to both teams and he gives them each money. He says, if you win, I need you to hold the trophy up like this, and then I want you to say, I'm going to Disney World.
But it's like it turns out he's got the guy's kids held hostage at Disney World, and he's got to go the them, and that's why.
And he's got the
You're
announcers,
good at this.
the announcers in on it, where he's like he tells the announcers you got to ask this question, and then when he says I'm going to Disney World, you got to look at the camera and look really shocked.
Because my kid is held hostage, but they cut that part out of the thing.
See, Hollywood, there's infinite things you could make movies about.
I used to go to Cedar Point in Ohio. I'm from Ohio, and that was like not a theme park. It was a amusement park, different than a theme park, I guess. And the rides were huge. You know, you got the Raptor, the Magnum, these gigantic, largest roller coaster in the world. And then I never went to Disney World, but people would tell me like it's not really it's more of like you'll be on like a track that's just going, and then like Mickey Mouse will pop out, and you're like, and then you keep going. And like, But it wasn't about the G-force as much as it was about the imagery. So I never was interested in it. I don't know. You said you've been. I've never been.
I haven't.
You haven't
I haven't
been?
Did you
been.
see any of the dystopian pictures of like Walt Disney World Mickey Mouse with a huge mask on?
Oh yeah, I did.
Just like I was like, I want off this ride.
If you wanted to go to Disney before pandemic, then after pandemic, it's like no chance.
Yeah.
No chance.
Like,
And then all those videos of people fighting in Toontown.
it's always Toontown.
It's always Toontown.
Something
It's
about
just
Toontown just
the
From
ghetto
Roger
of
Rabbit?
Disney.
yeah.
That's still going?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about Roger earlier on the show. And we were talking about white people or black people. Who's the best lead actor? I was like, well, Roger Rabbit. He's a freaking cartoon bunny. He was awesome.
So this came out because there was a TikTok of a woman who was trying to sneak in her grade school age child in a baby stroller that she used a gay pride flag to cover.
I made that joke. I don't think that's what it is.
No?
It
looks like that
looks like
to
a pride
me.
flag to me, but I don't know if that's necessarily what that is.
That's definitely a pride flag, though.
They're like, better not search us.
That's what they're using to cover up the fact that there's a grown child inside that baby stroller.
It reminds me of like the jokes of like when you're like, yeah, you can go to like Perkins and you're in like 12 and under, eat free, and the mom's like, tell them you're 12, and the kid's like clearly like 16.
Yeah.
He's got like acne.
I mean, I think that this is like their pivot to become a boutique sort of luxury entertainment brand.
They already are
for
that.
people who don't have kids.
It's so expensive. Like you can only
It's
really
for
afford
like
to go there.
the childless millennials and Gen X who have
Why
way
not?
too much disposable income and an extreme fixation on child entertainment.
Why not?
Why not?
They've got a sister who's got kids, but they go to Disney World more than the sister because they got all the disposable
I don't even
income.
know if it's that. I think of people like Eric Butts.
Yeah.
I'm going to harp on that
Forever.
because I'm sorry. I think that he is immoral.
So it's ages 10 plus start at $109 for a day.
That's
so they're
insane.
they're saying they're
That is
9 years
insane.
old or less. And that's
How do
why-
they know for sure?
I mean,
Do
I
they
guess
ID
you need to have a
the kid-
passport
the
for
kid,
the kid.
The kid gets ID'd. They like got a bouncer there who checks his ID, holds it up. Like, is that what they're doing?
I don't know.
An annual pass for ages 3 and up is $1,300.
It's expensive, man.
a
Like,
lot of money.
Massive.
and
It's like they want it to be less kid oriented.
Yeah.
They are trying to pivot toward an adult consumer class.
I'm of the opinion that I believe that Disney brilliantly, what they did is I think that they sold young women on the idea of like true love and the perfect relationship and princes coming to Prince Charming, and now all of these women are childless and they've never been married, and now they're going to Disney World because they think back and they love Disney growing up, and now they're all watching Star Wars and Marvel, even though girls did not give a crap about Star Wars or Marvel 20 years ago, and Disney brilliantly bought up those properties, and now they took them in their childhood, and now they're keeping them there as adults, and they win on both ends.
Yeah, what 3-year-old is going to do anything at Disney World? $1,300 to bring your 3-year-old, that's basically targeting rich people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess it's more
Or-
for a photo op for the parents
Or
than anything.
crafty parents who are sneaking their kids in.
Yeah.
it's for industrious young adults who are finding ways to get their kids in there for free.
I guess a 3-year-old could see a big goofy walking around and be like, but
I mean, I would like to see Goofy. I watched a Goofy movie not that long ago.
Goofy was awesome.
If anybody watched a Goofy movie, go back and rewatch it so you can.
They're
listen
so
to
weirdly emotional. Like
it's
they're
worth
actually quite touching.
it's worth it for like the if you want a great male role model, Goofy is a fantastic father. Not to mention the Tevin Campbell music in that movie is. Come on.
I just saw a headline that says Disney World guests blast $625 a head dinners at a fancy resort restaurant.
Yeah.
In the park.
Yeah.
I suppose it's in the park.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they've got cruises that they do with like exorbitant price tags on even the food and drinks that they sell.
Yeah.
Let alone the tickets.
Thank you.
All of the add-ons. So it's just a major cash cow, all of these adults with endless disposable income because they don't have any family.
Do you think it's like it is like what we were talking about? Like houses are so expensive now, so they can't afford to buy a house, but they make enough money that they've got more than enough money to live comfortably, but not enough money to like invest in buying their own home.
It's very strategic.
So they're like right there, and they're been like, I may not be able to buy a house, but I sure as hell can go spend a crap ton of money on Disney.
I'm gonna go blow $600 for a dinner at a Disney resort.
There's a really funny episode of The Mentalist where they're trying to like the characters like what can you get for $127.17 or something like that, and the whole episode they're trying to figure out what the hell that was, and one character goes like she asks him and he thinks kind of like pointedly for a minute, he goes, "You go crazy at Olive Garden." Like that's what it feels like to me. They're like, I can't afford a house, but I can go get a crap ton of stuff from Disney and fill my life with go nuts.
Now let's go to Johnny Depp's new GF.
I consider this an L.
This is an L, and this is why we're ending the show with it, because it's a womp
womp
for Johnny.
Womp, because
firstly, people shipped him with Camille Vasquez. I'm not sure I'm on board with that because she seems like an annoying beep.
I am team Camille.
She said
Team V.
Camille Vasquez at the time responded to the rumor saying it's an unethical charge being made. It's sexist. It's unfortunate. It's disappointing.
Damn,
but at the same
sexist
time,
part.
it kind of comes with the territory. I can't say I was all that surprised.
To be fair, it kind of is sexist, but it's just the outcome of like men and women in the workplace now. This would never happen when it's two dudes because if he had a guy lawyer because he's not gay. But
this lawyer that Johnny Depp is dating now was representing him in his defamation case with The Sun.
So he picked the lawyer that lost?
Yeah, he picked not only the lawyer that lost, but the less hot lawyer.
Yes,
and he dumped his French tutor, the redhead.
The redhead.
This is just furthering the ginger side.
He did not need to, like, what he needs to do is stop dating people that he's working with and stop dating people that he's involved with in legal matters.
He might need to just stop dating people for a while if he wants to avoid all this controversy.
Can he get a mail order bride? Mail order bride.
Bring back mail order brides. I will say though, I love her this lawyer's outfit. She did really well with this.
I introduced Mary
coat.
to a website earlier called Worn on TV. Unfortunately, there isn't a Worn on TV section for pulp law drama.
Yeah,
on television,
because this would be on it.
Yes,
that 8-button piece.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool looking.
It's it feels like something I would have seen in like what was the one you were watching? Not Emily in Paris. The one about Anna. Inventing Anna.
Oh, Inventing Anna.
Does it feel like
yeah,
something that
yeah.
would be seen on Inventing Anna?
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
So big L for Johnny.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
She's still married.
Yeah, she's still married, but she is legally separated.
Well, 21st century. Everybody's life's more complicated.
Yeah,
that's the world we live in.
Everyone has baggage.
I mean, isn't that kind of like Hallmark really found their niche when they realized that like that's like a big thing you can do for movies is everyone's got baggage because of how difficult and how complicated the family structure is.
That's the aspirational content that people want to see these days.
Because it's real. It's true to life.
Yeah, like people bringing their own baggage and beating the odds.
Yeah.
To have functional relationships.
You're not my mom.
You know.
You're not my dad. It's the guy like he was going to be a stepdad, but he's got to learn how to not be like overly.
That's sort of what was shown in Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah.
Is like that struggle of defining motherhood.
Yeah.
For like a a relationship with someone who's not your biological mother.
Unless you have the creepy test tube.
Then you've
daughter.
got the test tube stuff. I mean, that just veered into territory completely unrelated.
Think about a whole subplot that could have just been.
That was all
taken.
about like scientific ethics
Yeah.
and like eugenics and stuff. I wasn't really about that.
Fun fact: that's like the second highest grossing movie of the year.
Which is crazy. It just shows that we didn't have good enough options, right?
It was Top Gun Maverick and then Jurassic World Dominion were the two top grossing movies of the year.
That
so
should be a
far.
Bullet Train after Top Gun.
That was never going to happen. Too niche.
Why?
I,
Just because it's based on
a book and not
a book that
and not a comic.
had a cult fan base instead of a comic that
Yeah.
they wanted to molest.
But even the comics started with cult fan bases that they used to bolster a mainstream fan base.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be like those comic book movies did well because normies would have their friend who grew up reading comics tell them, oh, no, this character's awesome. You got to go see this movie. Now, the normies are telling the comic book fans, you got to go see this movie. It's awesome. The comic book fans are like, I don't want to go see this. This is stupid.
Yeah, I was disappointed with what they did with the Infinity Saga because it was awesome when they killed a bunch of the superheroes, but when they did it brutally. I mean, if you see Infinity Gauntlet #4, the original comic that they based the movies off of, that's just awesome.
Well, they didn't.
Hardcore.
They were. I mean, Marvel was never going to do that just because of the tone of their.
Yeah, and they got rid of Lady Death, which was the idea that Thanos was trying to impress a woman.
Yeah.
That was like the impetus for killing everything, was impressing a woman.
That was that's the funniest part. There's a really funny like thing about Thanos. It was like Thanos is like the definition of toxic masculinity because he's like he literally destroys the whole half the planet just to impress a woman.
Destroy the planet,
Yeah.
stay toxic kings.
Everyone go find hashtag
Sigma grind set.
Yeah, hashtag stay toxic kings.
Let's go to super chats.
Let's do it.
Hava Owens said, left-wing media sucks, but it doesn't mean the right wing is better by default. What wins is good writing and storytelling, not preaching ideology.
That's what we
Agree.
should be doing.
If you come off preachy, no one likes it, no matter what the preaching message is. Tacti Platty said, Star Trek Disco is highly molested by the wokes.
I have
Is
not.
true? From a Star Trek fan?
Star Trek Discovery.
I haven't seen
Just
it.
talking about Discovery. I haven't
Oh.
watched it, but it's there was an article.
I remember watching it, though, and I didn't think it was bad
I'm not
or, like, woke at all.
I'm gonna go
Might
ahead
be
and
worth
take.
rewatching.
I'm gonna
with
take
a critical eye.
I'm gonna go ahead and take the word of all the people that watch it that are like super fans and say that it's awful.
Meh.
I can't speak to it, but I'm also again not a Star Trek. Like it's why it's really funny. Like Tim hired me to do like a pop culture podcast, and he loves Star Trek, and I just don't. I never cared about Star Trek.
Well, it's like if you're not a Star Wars fan and you watch Andor, you're going to dislike it because they made something mediocre, not because they're ruining Star Wars for you.
Yeah, I'm a fan of good movies or good shows, and Star Trek Next Generation was a good show, so I was a fan of it, not because it's called Star Trek. I
Yeah.
don't care
Yeah.
about that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I keep meaning to watch Babylon 5, which is like a from the same time period. Like Babylon 5 and Farscape are ones that I keep meaning to like look into. I've seen Farscape through season 1, but I haven't seen the whole thing, and I really want to watch Babylon 5, and I haven't gotten around to it, and I need to do that.
Hava Owen said, ESG is our CCP. We should be aware of what's coming.
It's
Sounds like a rap.
I mean it's just the corporate version of it rather than the government
Which
leaning
is
into it.
almost worse,
Far
in my
worse.
opinion.
Oh, if you guys want to watch, there's a show. There was a show on. It was a Canadian show called Continuum. Okay, and the idea behind the show is they have what's called a Continental Congress, or I'm sorry, like a corporate Congress, Continental Congress, corporate Congress, and basically it's like in the future, corporations and government are basically the same thing. To create like their utopia, it ends up they have to go back in time to stop it from happening because it creates like a utopian society, but it's an extremely controlling one, and it has a lot to do with the idea of technological ethics. It's kind of pulpy. It's kind of like mainstream. It's not highbrow in a lot of ways, but the interesting topics are broached in a more conventional way, so you have to look a little bit deeper for those meanings. It's not so highbrow, but it's very good, and Rachel Nichols is a fantastic actress.
Potatoes for Seamus sent us some shopping cart emojis.
Well,
Can't imagine
because,
why.
Because they haven't been put back yet, see?
Oh, you're going to need to deal with those potatoes for Seamus. Tacti Platy said, Brett, any take on Crow remake? Asked for Derek.
Do not do it. Don't. Especially if they're doing what FKA Twigs and who's the dude that's involved in that movie? I have no. Was it Momoa? Who is it that's in? I can't even look it up. I don't have any interest in it. The original Crow is a fantastic movie, but it's like that movie has its own mystique about it because of the death of Brandon Lee, right? And at that time period, it's kind of like Blade, where I don't know if Blade's gonna work now. Blade speaks to like that late '90s industrial music type of not grunge, but like. It's kind of grimy in a way.
Yeah.
I feel like the tone of The Crow now will come off very sanitized, even if they make it grimy. I don't have any interest in the Hellraiser reboot either. So. Okay.
Potatoes for Seamus said, the blonde hair stays, Brett. It's part of who you are now. Become one with the blonde. LOL.
So I'm being told what's going to happen to me now. I have no say in
You
it.
were told what was happening to you in the first place. That's why we've got blonde Brett.
So I keep learning.
That's how good things happen here. Halls and the Kid said, Brett's watch matches his hair. Is this true? Oh, it does. Look at that.
It was on purpose. I just sat there one day and
you did become someone who wears a watch.
Oh yeah, I started wearing a watch as like a way to like cut down on checking my phone for the time, because checking your phone for the time inevitably leads you to unlocking it, and
it's true.
But it's become actually more of
we need a wall clock in here.
That like
that'd
right
be cool.
behind you.
Yeah,
I can tell what time the show is, like how long we've been on just by the
yes.
But like it became actually more of like a self-comforting gesture.
Just something to.
It's something that because
grab.
It took years for me to not do that with my.
Now
chain.
You're just gonna.
Do you ever feel like it cuts off your circulation?
No, I get the I can't wear the ones with the actual like clasp because for that reason, because I don't like it cutting off my circulation.
You've got rubber bands on the other arm.
Yep.
I need to stop watching YouTube said #wild Christianity, same as before but with cussing.
Yes.
I'm not sure what this means.
More wild Christian content.
Wild Christian content?
I think that's what that means.
If that is what it means, then I think Father Stu did that really well, because it's like it really confronts the reality of like having a redemption arc.
Yeah.
It's not linear.
No, it's not.
And he's still a man, and he is attracted to this woman that he was in love with, and he's a priest now. Like, that's a complexity that I think a lot of Christian movie makers would be extremely hesitant to show.
I thought he was going to walk away,
and I really appreciated it.
I thought he was going to walk away from the priesthood for the girl in the movie.
I think they did it perfectly.
No, I'm saying, but I didn't know. I knew it was based on a true story, but I didn't know what the story was. So I was like, it went somewhere that I didn't expect it to go.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out it's Bill Skarsgård that's playing Eric Draven in The Crow, and Bill Skarsgård does have like, if you see, like he's got one of those faces that's just very unique. I can see if you just look at you can kind of see it there. Like he's got a face that looks like when the makeup's on will be very, very, very cool looking. So we'll see. I don't really have any faith that they will be able to recapture the magic in the tone of the movie. And they better be damn safe with those firearms on set after, what happens with the original and with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah. Bradley Allen said, yes, end the ginger side. Save the true minority.
We must save the redheads.
Yes.
It's our job. It's our call to action, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, if we, I call that there needs to be more representation at Timcast amongst redheads. We need to hire redheads.
Yeah, there should be a quota.
There should be.
Unknown said FNT time later crisis fam.
Friday Night Tights. They're going to watch Friday Night Tights.
Okay.
Bye. But thank you for coming.
Thank you. Brent Davis. This is a guy who is like vaguely like you.
I thought it said, I was like, Brett Dasovic? What?
What if he's like weirdly similar to you, but like, not quite?
He's got two different color eyes, but this one's the gray one and this one's the brown one rather than the other way around.
Spot the difference.
Yeah.
He said, Ian, console or PC, and what games do you play? Shooters, MMO?
PC, and usually turn-based strategy or grand simulation, or MOBAs. I've got Heroes of the Storm, Crusader Kings 2, Slay the Spire, Tales of Magi, games like that. and lots more. I've got like 1,200 games on Steam right now.
Dang.
But I mean, I played way back to the Atari, so like it was all action platformers back then. I've got a soft spot for platformers, but I've kind of evolved past. I love turn-based strategy. I've been doing it since I was like 6 years old on the Commodore 64.
I saw a meme the other day, and it hit me really.
Computer Ambush was the game.
A meme that hit me. It's like you have those memes where it says like a photo can't make you feel something or something like that. And it's like this photo is going to make you feel frustrated, and it's just a picture of the game Contra.
I love that game.
Yeah.
I beat that game without dying. It's totally possible.
Or what was the Castlevania? The original.
I played Castlevania 2 first, and that was like my favorite game at the time.
Yeah.
Simon Belmont was my hero. Get the flame whip.
Have you seen the Netflix Castlevania series?
No.
Very good. I've heard.
Oh.
I've heard a rare example of Netflix animation being very, very good.
Interesting.
Hobbit said, GoldenEye is getting a remake because just like everything else, the culture of gaming can't figure out how to make new great content, thus remakes.
That makes me feel bad for the gamers because I thought that was, it's not just a movie thing. It's an all-over thing.
Yeah.
I've heard Ghost of Tsushima was really, really good.
I heard of it. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Hava Owens said, Ian is the best guest. I love what he brings.
Yo.
Thanks,
You?
Owens. Hava.
Andrew Suto said, if Amazon wanted to create a fantasy story with different races and gender roles, a great one already existed in Elder Scrolls.
Man, I hope that they do that movie right when they make it. Have they made an Elder Scrolls movie yet?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, that's got a lot
Could
of
be in the
potential because it could be
works.
about anything. It doesn't have to be about even the Elder Scrolls themselves. It could be
Yeah.
about anything in the world in Tamriel.
But they didn't even make it about races. Like all the races in the show are intermingled in different. Like there was a scene early on in Rings of Power where it's like they're like rowing a boat and it's the most unrealistic group of people you've ever seen rowing a boat. It's like there's a white guy, there's an Asian guy, there's a black guy. I was like, that's not how it worked back then. Like why they wouldn't all be part of the same tribe, right? Not the same.
Not in fantasy realms. You've got the people with the darker skin came from the south because that's where the sun was hotter.
Yeah.
So they were out getting burnt by the sun. The people in the far north were big, tall, really light skin because they had to hunt and kill and eat a lot of meat because they couldn't grow crops.
And that's what I mean by saying they could have done this, but they could have done it in a way that made sense, but they didn't do that because they just want to be surface level.
Just because it's fantasy doesn't mean that it shouldn't imitate real life in certain respects.
Exactly. Like I said, when we saw Bronwyn doing her speech, and then you see Muriel on her horse leading people, that's very, very deliberate.
Yeah.
To remove the men that would normally lead those roles.
When Galadriel got on the ship at the end, and all of these dudes are like,
oh my god,
fawning over
we didn't
her.
even talk about that.
Oh, that was awful.
Galadriel's bad. Galadriel in
That
slow
sucks.
motion is worse.
The slow mo in this show is also terrible,
Awful.
even when Galadriel is not slow mo.
The
Any
horse-
slow mo, it's
horse
just too
slow-mo.
much. Bad App said, Tacti Plati made the best movie poster of Mary. I haven't seen this.
I think I might have reposted it on my Instagram.
You did?
I think I did.
What is it?
It's like I think it's like
have
you
no-
in a cart or something like that.
You didn't show me.
I'll send it to you later.
Okay. Johnny Derp said, Ian, Sorcerer Dave has some really fantastic roleplay runs of Bethesda games. Playlist called I, Claudius is a good Skyrim run.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting. I've been running Skyrim myself lately on Legendary, but you beat the game. Once you master alchemy and blacksmithing, it's just, you're unstoppable. You can stand toe-to-toe with a dragon. It's kind of ridiculous.
Michael Williams said, Ian, I just saw your reel. Had no idea that was you in that Orbit gum commercial. Was the Orbit lady nice? Also, when are you going to Twitch stream again?
She's super nice, Vanessa, and the directors, the Pelorian brothers, are fantastic human beings, awesome directors. I've been thinking about streaming video games again, and I just might, so keep tuned. Stay tuned on that.
James Ornthal Wen said, music is part of culture, so would you consider either a group reaction to audience suggestions as a segment or discussing why Bandmade are the Slay Queens? Well, that's the impression that I get.
See, I didn't understand any of that.
I didn't either.
I will say that like we do cover music sometimes when it enters pop culture, but it
is still subcultural, I feel.
Yes,
like.
it doesn't feel like it really resonates with people as much. But we also, it's not like we're covering
It
music.
depends on who it is.
We're covering like bad things that happen to artists.
We also cover like personalities. Like Kanye West is primarily a musician, but he also is a cultural celebrity. Like he is a voice in and of his own.
I also, if you
know?
find articles or stuff that you think would be interesting to cover, I think sending them to the Instagram, I might be able to coordinate.
Yeah, send us DMs on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod if you have any suggestions.
Or Twitter, I guess. If there
or the
aren't-
Twitter,
or
yeah,
like,
Pop Culture _show.
Like that's one where it's like there's a lot of days where like a lot of channels that I listen to where they're like, oh, so and so sent us this article. I'm like, I wish people would just send me articles. Like that like there have been a couple that we've covered where I've gotten them from people that were like I never would have found.
But we do need to workshop some kind of way that like our viewers can talk in the forum and like give us suggestions and post memes and stuff like that. We're always talking about things like that. Yep. Chaffles Sensei for a day said, unfortunately, historical content is going to be almost impossible to do in the modern day if you want to go down any traditional route. Hollywood will destroy that with wokeness.
Then we get away from Hollywood.
Yeah.
Then you go to Cine, whatever.
What?
Cine, whatever the movie was being made. What was that platform?
Oh, Pureflix.
Pureflix. Then you go to Pureflix.
Uh-huh.
Or the Daily Wire. Start making.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Daily Wire.
Hobbit said, Passion of the Christ 2 is supposed to tell the story of what happened in the 3 days between Christ's death and resurrection. I'm torn on the idea.
I mean, that could be an interesting premise, but it feels
it's a
like
big thing to do right twice.
It feels like they're reaching for it. Like we need it. They had to think of the story to tell, and that's not always a good sign.
Yeah. Hava Owens said, I agree with Ian. I break down gameplay footage the same way I break down MMA Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu footage, ultimately helping my style.
Yeah, I'll my eyes will be locked to the screen for 30 minutes, and then if I blink or turn away, I'll pause it and rewind, and then rewatch that part that I missed. Because even just watching him run like an inch to the bottom left, you want to see how he does it. In order, I'm talking about like Heroes of the Storm MOBAs, for instance, because does he stutter step? Does he move? You want to know.
T-Bone. Everyone's changing their names now.
T-Bone.
T-Bone said, Ian, that's what my dad calls me. I love it.
T-Bone.
Hell yeah.
So you're like a father to him now.
Right on. This universe is connected.
Walker Texas Danger said, Rings of Power likes to reference deep lore as though they're whistling to OG fans. The same fans they spent their entire marketing campaign bitching about. Casuals end up totally lost because nothing is explained. Who even wins here?
Certainly not us.
Yeah. I don't think they've put enough thought into it, clearly.
Nope.
Nathan Settlemeyer said Jim was good in Count of Monte Cristo.
Yep, Jim Caviezel.
Caper2X said, Oh, Mary, park the shopping cart. Have a great weekend, PCC peeps. Go wild. Cop. Blonde Brett. Is that what it means?
Am I the Fed?
Graphene Forever.
Oh.
Ian.
Okay.
Okay.
That's definitely true.
So I'm definitely the Fed. That's confirmed.
I guess so.
Confirmed.
What's with the cop car otherwise? T-Bone said recently became single and was sad boy, but Ian changed my life for the better. Thanks, Ian.
You got it, man.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, get clipped, Brett Dasovic, 2022.
I needed that on a shirt or
Get
a mug.
clipped.
Or a mug. Get clipped.
That's awesome.
Bad app. I'm not reading that.
I figured.
Joseph said, Ian, what in science makes you feel there's no God?
I think there is a God now because of science. It's the cosmic microwave background radiation. When I look at that, it looks like the way the energy arcs through planetoids in the universe. It looks like the way neurons arc through the brain, and I'm thinking that's a fractal pattern.
The Northmen kind of showed that, like neural patterns showing
Did they?
human history. I don't know. It was
The way
interesting.
cities
the way
are kind of
they
like
visualized
neurons.
Yeah.
And stars.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And the way
Do we
light
have any
arcs
more?
out.
Yeah.
Because I don't see any.
We got more.
Maybe this spreadsheet is not working.
I need to stop watching YouTube, says Eric Butts is Nietzsche's last man.
Wait, what?
Eric Butts is Nietzsche's last man.
It's been a while since I read Nietzsche.
You can see him on that. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see him on that monitor there, but they're on this one. So it says, I need to stop watching YouTube, says Disney is a vital organ of the American romance
okay. Sorry.
machine.
I
Got him?
refreshed. I refreshed it. It just needed me to log in.
Okay.
Did you read?
I'm going to finish this one. It says, Disney is a vital organ of the American romance machine, which produces the greatest force for good when innocent and kills people's soul when bad.
Ooh, like an abusive partner or a loving partner.
The romance machine. That's interesting. Grofty said, imagine, if you will, Roger Rabbit reimagined. It would be so lame.
Well, yeah, that and what's her name? The red dress.
His wife?
The
Jessica Rabbit?
Jessica
Rabbit, yeah.
Never, yeah. This is ruined.
Never happening again.
Never happening again. By the way, hello, Grofty. It's been a while.
Chaffles Sensei for a day said, thanks for watching Lord of the Rings so I don't have to. House of the Dragon is awesome. Even with the disturbing incest, it was meant to be disturbing. Weird that it was confusing to some. Yikes.
I think
That's
that's
the
kind of
problem.
the problem that we're making is that they excuse it by saying, well, it's supposed to be bad.
We're portraying it as bad,
Yeah,
therefore it's okay to
fine.
show that.
Yep.
Nathan Settlemeyer said, Tevin Campbell.
Tevin Campbell. And the song is Eye to Eye.
You typed that
Doing
strangely.
this
Eye to Eye
eye
was
to eye.
ish. Was the ish in Goofy.
Yep, the power line. It's power line in Goofy
Yep.
movie. That's it's a leaning tower of cheese. Polly Shore.
I don't know.
Yep.
Missed it.
No, Goofy movie. Everyone go watch it.
Terrence Rice said the brutality Ian speaks of is why I got instantly hooked to Invincible, among other things. Please watch this if you haven't.
That is another one I need to
What is
watch.
that?
It's an animated. I haven't watched it, but it's very good from what I've heard. And I think I don't know if season 2's out now or they're doing season 2 and maybe they're going into season 3. But I guarantee you've seen memes that involve it at a certain point. So.
Hobbit said, suggestion, a unique PCC background for these super chat segments. Perhaps some form of animation or a more unique view of the hosts.
I've actually I've made workshop that idea. The
discussed it. Yes.
Mine was actually not for like visual, like wasn't even for you guys. It was for me as like
it was
a
for
visual,
his convenience.
It was for my. I was like I wanted it as a visual cue for the editing process when I get into post because when we get done with the show, I'm just like click, click. So yeah,
I almost don't even want to mention what we had in mind until that actually happens.
We'll get there someday,
but we will get there.
Yes.
Thank you for the suggestion. We're on the same page.
Ooh, I like this last one.
Tacti Platty said, place to post memes, maybe for a meme review.
I would love.
We've talked about doing a meme review. We want to do pop culture meme review. It can be stuff about what we cover and just stuff about the show and the guests and like our
Cultural
inside
memes.
jokes, all like cultural stuff. I would love this.
I think we should look
Maybe
into it.
Let us know like if you guys would want us to start a subreddit or like something
Yeah.
akin to it.
We'll
for that to happen.
We'll figure it out, and I
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic idea as far as a segment that we could do once a week is like to do like a meme review on Fridays.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be so
creating
fun.
pop culture.
That would
Yeah.
be fun.
All right, guys, thank you so much for everything today. Ian, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Brett.
Later.
Mary, that was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me tonight at Timcast IRL at 8 o'clock p.m. on YouTube, Timcast IRL. You can also follow me at Ian Crossland on the internet anywhere, iancrossland.net, if you want to get through to my socials directly.
I've heard of that show. I've heard of that upcoming startup show, Timcast
Oh,
IRL.
you've heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard
Good,
of it.
then the promotion's working.
Perfect. Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Mary Archived, and whenever I post articles on timcast.com, I promote them there. Have a great weekend, you guys.
With the great weekend at the end there. I never.
I really hope they do.
I never.
In my heart.
I get too like caught up in like my outro bit to like personalize.
Do you
it
go
more.
into like some kind of robotic
my
trance?
my eyes glaze over.
Well,
You just
let's
see
get
ones and
ready
zeros.
to witness that right now.
And if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Brett Dasovic for the show. We are here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would like to come and listen rather than watch, you can listen on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. Social media, we are on Twitter at @popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. All great places where you could send memes or article ideas. We have one more super chat from I Need to Stop Watching YouTube who says, you can find me online at Brett Dasovic. No, he didn't say that part. Okay. That is everything, guys. We will be back with another episode on Monday. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye.